Is that enough sauce for you, Chuck?
I enjoyed it.
I'm glad.
It's saucy.
I enjoy the amount of sauce.
I have made a post to twitter.com.
Oh my God!
Oh,
Twitter.
you had that prepped.
Twitter, tweet. Ka-chow. Ka-chow. Done. Did it.
Boom.
Made it happen,
Fucking nailed it.
Captain.
Kapow.
I will hit that useless like button.
Yeah. No. Why did you do that?
What did you do? What?
Man. That buzz. I am not about it.
It's weird. It's not that severe on my headphones.
Really?
Yeah.
Your headphones are different.
When I have new headphones next week, I'll be able to judge properly.
Well, hopefully next week we just. I mean, I guess the thing is like, hey, anyone? In the, well, no one's probably there yet, but
Hey.
if it is anyone is in the live stream, can you hear a buzz? Tell me what's happening.
What is happening?
Bill is here.
Bill's here.
Bill, can you hear an abnormal buzz that is not normally there? Please confirm.
And now we wait 30 seconds.
I don't think it's not. Our delay's not as long as it used to be.
Oh, good.
It's great.
Good.
Super duper.
It's good.
That's good. Yeah,
It's good.
Good.
Yeah.
Good.
Good. It's good.
If you can't hear buzz, then don't
Yeah.
worry about
Yeah,
it.
no
Good.
worry.
It's good.
Like, I mean, I can tell it goes away when I unplug my amp thing, but like I said, when it's on, it's not terribly severe. But I'm still going to replace it. So.
Yeah.
I mean, we'd said it needed to go anyway because it was like
It was being weird.
it was blinking
Yeah.
when there was no activity.
We have a tradition of quality,
Right.
We do.
and
we
quality starts with a quality source. If we fuck that up, I will kill every single one of you.
Oh, dear.
Okay.
Oh, please don't.
Well, don't fuck it up.
Okay.
No
Please
pressure.
proceed not to fuck it up.
I should start calling out these people that are online in our Discord that never say anything.
Nah.
Why?
Be like, you.
90% of everybody on anything just lurks.
I know.
Yeah.
You say something. You say something.
Wait, can you actually see them over there?
Yeah.
Oh,
I can see who's online.
How?
On Discord?
On the right-hand side.
There's that right-hand panel that you probably close.
With the
Oh,
bosses.
I thought you were talking about live stream comment. I was like,
Oh,
how do you-
live stream.
I was like, how do you know who's
Oh,
watching?
No,
no.
yeah,
Sorry,
If
I
I could
missed
see
it.
them, I'd call them out.
I missed the first part.
You can actually look at the participants.
I think a lot of people just
Oh, yeah,
fire
like
up
that.
Discord and,
They
you
just
know, they're probably in
read.
50 different groups and...
Yeah, that's the thing. If they're in
More than
any group,
one. Yeah.
they'll show up in ours as well. We got a decent list.
Yeah.
I don't know. We got like 80 something?
I think we're up to
60,
90 something.
70,
We've had some people start to come out of their shell a little bit.
81, 86, 89. So nigh upon 90.
We are equal to last week's stream, at least as far as the output goes.
Good.
Cool.
It's just internal buzzing.
Yes.
Mm.
We're just so excited.
Yeah.
So we just need to throw that amp in the trash.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Put a new Harlow label.
Or donate it to a homeless podcast.
It's probably something silly like a solder joint or something.
Silly.
Mm.
It's probably
you
something
could take it to your
silly.
tube guy.
I could take it to my tube
Oh, you
guy.
got a tube guy?
I do have a tube guy.
He's got a tube guy.
I work with a tube guy.
Yeah.
Tube
He
guy.
fixes tubes.
He does. Yeah.
What
These
would
are
he
just
do?
Tube
these are
equipment.
tubes-
You
tube
probably
amps.
don't want to try to fix a tube.
He does. He fixes tubes.
Really?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Opens them up, cleans them out.
We were talking about Macintosh amps for like, stereos and shit. Mostly phonographs, but
Yeah. Jen's dad has one.
yeah, they're
Really?
wow.
Yeah.
Is he a rich motherfucker?
No, he just
Oh.
got it like in the 60s or whatever.
You know, and
okay.
that's all there was.
Yeah.
Back
And
when
still
minimum
maintains
wage
it.
was.
But I mean,
But they weren't allowed to touch the tubes.
Yeah,
he got very mad if she or her sister touched
Is
the
it
tubes.
the old? Yeah, the old school with the exposed
Yeah.
tubes. Yeah, that's the way to go. But yeah, we were talking about those, and I was saying modern day Macintosh amps are all enclosed. Like, there's only one model that still has exposed tubes, and I'm like, the fuck?
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's half the reason you have one of those.
Yeah.
Is it's like, check out my fucking tubes, yo.
Yeah.
Look at
Believe me, if I had $1 for every time I said that,
Check out my tubes.
I'd have
yo.
like $4.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I'd have about $4
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah.
$2.15.
Hmm. So should we do a podcast?
No, absolutely.
It's like almost 10 o'clock
Yeah.
already,
We
so we
probably
probably should.
We should launch.
Okay, let's launch this into this one.
We should read all these emails about Google Analytics, though.
We get a lot of Google. We also get a lot of Amazon recommendations now.
I got to go into the Amazon settings.
Please
Yeah.
do.
Please.
Because, yeah.
All right, welcome to the BMFcast.
Hey,
BMFcast.
BMFcast.
Episode 455.
Nice.
Yep.
Is it? Sure.
It's,
Yeah.
it's all right.
It's pretty good.
Yeah.
Any Blaxploitation History Month episode is nice.
It sure
I'll
is.
accept that.
That's true.
So I'm Harlow.
I'm Mackie.
I'm BJ.
I'm Chuck.
And what we do each and every episode of the BMFcast is we go and we watch ourselves a quote-unquote bad movie, come in here and talk about it for the first half, and then we rate them. Good bad movies, enjoyable bad movies. You get 1 to 5 jocks and robot jocks.
Robot job.
Yeah, right. Mouth noises. However, there are bad movies, and stay away. They get a negative sliding scale. 1 to 5 bags and giant bags of trash.
Boo.
Boo.
Junk, garbage, yuck,
Sack it up, haul it out.
Landfill.
farewell.
So as Mr.
Yunk.
BJ alluded to, we are deep in the middle of Blaxploitation History Month, the 8th annual.
Yes.
The
And
best month of the year.
It is. And this brings us, we very rarely get sequels to these, so it's exciting when we do. This is 1972's Comeback Charleston Blue, a sequel to Cotton Comes to Harlem.
Yes.
Yeah.
Still, even with this being a sequel, one of the earliest blaxploitation movies that we have on the docket. I mean, generally that genre started a little later, but Cotton Comes to Harlem was 1970.
So I'm going to read, there's a longer plot synopsis, but I'm just going to read one line because it's all you really need to know.
Okay.
Another bad influence is hitting Harlem, and Gravedigger and Coffin Ed are the two cops who will stop it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yes.
So,
Yeah, they're back,
Mhm.
and they've got another case.
and they're still being them.
Yeah.
Just smarmy,
Man.
sarcastic.
They are true to their characters.
It doesn't get much better than Coffin Head and Gravedigger.
They're
No.
fucking awesome.
Yes. I wish there had been more of these.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is this the only other one?
Yeah.
Oh, it's sad.
This is one of the few like movie pairings where I'm like, I could have totally gone for a TV show with these guys.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Every week with them solving something.
Yep.
Yeah,
And,
'cause-
and really
And
not.
just being these two characters.
There's not much in these movies that couldn't be a TV series. Like, I mean,
this
you
movie's
know,
PG.
right. I mean, they don't get extremely violent. They don't swear a lot. They drop some inappropriate racial. They don't, per se. They do occasionally, but it's time period things.
They drop the soft in.
Yeah.
I mean, Coffin Head and Gravedigger do.
Occasionally, yeah. But it's like,
But it's not.
it's not wall to wall like some movies. But I'm
Right.
saying, like, this could easily be adapted into a TV show. But, do we want to talk about behind the scenes besides them? I mean, they're back again, but they've been in other things. We have some
They have.
alumnus that we usually talk about at this
yeah.
point.
Yeah, they don't have Ossie Davis did not return to direct it.
No.
This one. Who was it this time?
Mark somebody.
Mark Warren?
Yeah.
I think?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
this one feels more like a TV movie. I'll say that. It has more of a TV feel in a lot of sections
I think that was
compared to
because
how the first one was.
the first one was on Blu-ray. This is a VHS rip. I
Uh,
think that contributes a lot to it.
Okay,
So
that is true. But yes, Godfrey Cambridge returns from Cotton Comes to Harlem, and Friday Foster.
Right.
Raymond St. Jacques. Jacques. Jacques.
Jacques.
Raymond St. Jacques.
5 Jacques.
Raymond St. Jacques.
Oh,
There we
Jack
go.
A.
See, that's what.
That's she's an alum from
yeah.
episode 227.
Right.
Raymond St. Five Jocks from Cotton Comes to Harlem and Cool Breeze. And then Leonard Cimino from Cotton Comes to Harlem, Amityville 2, a BMFcast extra movie, and way early, Hudson Hawk.
Yeah.
He plays a mob boss that shows up. For
Yeah.
Oh,
2
yeah,
scenes.
that guy.
When you see that guy, you're like, oh, yeah, you're
Oh, yeah,
that
that
guy
guy.
in every movie who's either like a Monsignor or a bad guy. Yeah.
Yep.
Also, I didn't make note of it because I didn't know, but Maxwell Glanville is the white patrolman cop.
Yes.
He was in the first one also.
Yeah, I thought
yeah,
so.
I thought so. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, plus there was the one dude you pointed out that was the Pooh House guy.
Yes.
From,
There's a guy who
What the fuck was that movie?
from Black Eye.
Black Eye, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the guy from from the Pooh House.
Pooh House.
Yeah, he's a guy who's
Oh,
guarding
Pooh.
a graveyard for some reason.
Okay. I just figured out what you meant by Pooh House, and yeah.
Yeah, we had the whole Pooh House.
Yeah, we had a
discussion.
whole thing. We had a whole thing. But for some reason, I was just thinking, like,
how many other Pooh Houses are you
I
aware
know.
of?
I know.
Teddy Wilson is his actual name.
Okay.
it just didn't
Not guy
fucking
from
click.
the Pooh House.
Guy from the Pooh House.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, what happens in this movie? A lot. A lot happens in this movie.
A lot and also not much. It's one of those that the thing about these two cops, and I feel like maybe they were more on the case in the first one than this one, but like in this one it just seems like events are happening and they're just kind of there. Like whenever something's happening, they just walk into frame and are like, all right, what the hell?
I mean,
and then
they're doing detective work. I mean, they do a whole scene because this starts the whole movie starts at a fancy ball.
Yes.
Because I don't even know what the actual occasion is. I think it's
they are crowning the Princess of Harlem.
well. There's that, and then but we also have a new police chief that's taking over their precinct.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I don't know what the actual event is. If it's for him, if it's for her, if it's just a celebration for whatever reason. But he's kind of announcing like, "Hey, I'm here. I'm your new police captain. Here's this lady who's like, they gave her some title, like some weird
whatever
French like
Yeah, whatever her
debutante
actual title
ball
was.
bullshit
yeah,
thing
I have no idea.
of Harlem.
Yep.
And it was like,
Au Bon Pon
yeah,
No.
sure, I don't know.
of Harlem.
Yeah.
Yes.
But yeah, she walks out, and then there's a dude taking pictures, and this at first it seems like that's kind of funny, and it's not going to be very important, but it's very important.
Yeah.
This dude is taking pictures, and he basically like sort of like a wedding. The police captain and her are going to have like the first dance and open this up or whatever, and the photographer guy just like hands the captain his camera. Is like, here, hold this, excuse me, and just starts dancing with her, and like they're immediately in love.
Yeah.
They're just gooey eyed for each other.
Yep. But our heroes are working the room basically because there's just crime happening all over the place.
It's weird. Like there is this like 70-year-old white waiter dude who's like trying to swipe purses, and they just walk over like,
Yeah.
And this is like one of the first reactions we get from Coffin Ed, who's like, he basically like takes the purse away because he was like trying to smuggle it under his tray, and he takes it away, and the lady whose purse it was turns around and sees him and like snatches the purse away, and it's like, and he's just like, really?
He gives
like,
this look like,
like,
"Oh, fuck."
like I
Come
just
on,
like
lady.
I just saved your purse. God damn.
Yeah.
But
They shake down this guy pretending to be an African prince, and they just escort him out into the hallway, turn him upside down, literally shake all of the things he has stolen out of his costume, and then launch him out the door into a pile of trash.
It's like a Jeffrey from Fresh Prince times 10 exit, because they just huck him out the door into a pile of trash.
Yep.
And
We never see him again.
No.
He died. That man died.
Yeah, they broke his neck.
Yeah.
I want to say Jeffrey, DJ Jazzy Jeff. The butler called him Jeffrey.
Jeffrey. Yeah.
Who was also Jeffrey.
Right.
It's confusing.
There's other things going on at the same time. Like there's a nun on a motorcycle with a sidecar, and then there's a really good sight gag of two people coming up the stairs from a subway, and it turns out one's a very tall guy and one's a very short guy, but they were walking in time to where they looked like they were the same height until the one dude stopped walking and the other dude kept walking.
Yeah.
Until he realized, oh, he is 7 foot tall.
That was a fantastic shot. I
very
really
good.
appreciated that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's also a nun kind of circling around, because there's a whole weird thing where like there's like a vehicle handoff or some shit, and
The nun The nun was driving a motorcycle with a
Right.
sidecar.
Yep.
Okay.
And pulls up and gets off of the motorcycle and goes somewhere. And then tall guy and short guy hop into the motorcycle and sidecar. It's
Yeah.
it's a very good visual.
So those guys end up like breaking into the party via like the air ducts, or the tiny one does. And then there's
this is some very early Bond type stuff.
It's
Like-
a heist, but it's like we have to show you every second of the heisting, and it's like, do we?
but they end up they murder a dude in the kitchen, and the only thing they have to go on is like they stole some turkeys that were thawing,
Yeah.
and it's like, huh? And you murdered a guy for that, like straight up stabbed him and like attached him to a meat hook in the walk-in fridge or whatever. And so they're like, well, this is weird, and then they find a razor blade. That's basically what sets it off. They're like, well, this is they left a murder weapon, so, and it's like an engraved fancy ass like straight razor.
blued steel.
So
straight
yeah,
razor.
this is what begins their investigation, because they go to see. Do they ever give her a name? They just keep calling
Her
her like, the
Majesty.
Your
queen.
Majesty.
Her
Yeah.
Majesty.
Oh, okay. Okay.
That's how she's billed. Her
Okay,
Majesty.
Her Majesty. Okay. Well, they go to see this lady, and she's like almost acting like a fortune teller, but it turns out she's running numbers, because like they're doing this weird thing where like he's talking about his dreams, and I think it's like the number of syllables he's saying are
I
the
don't
numbers.
know. She's just interpreting his dream into numbers, and then here's
It
a
always
dollar.
it always ends up being 515.
515, yeah.
And I think it's syllables, because I think he's messing with her.
Oh.
Like, because he's like intentionally saying something that's the number of syllables, and because he plays the same number every day. Coffin, her gravedigger does every time. And then she's like, "Oh, do you know anything about this?" And they present the razor, and she's like, "Oh, I haven't seen this in a long time. This is Charleston, one of Charleston Blues razors." And she tells the whole story about he went down to Charleston and got these special razors made, and they're engraved and they're blued steel, and that's how he got the nickname.
Yeah, and I've kept them all in this box here.
Yeah. You have this one that he shaved with one, and the other ones he took care of business with.
Well, she's expecting his return. Like this, so
He's been gone 40 years.
yeah, Charleston Blue was like a 30s gangster.
Yeah, he's been dead for 40 years.
Yeah.
Like everyone knows he's dead except for this lady. Is like,
Who,
no,
like-
he's
Well,
coming back.
she knows he's dead.
Right.
Because they have a mausoleum
Yeah.
and a coffin for him and a place for her.
Yeah.
So she knows.
But she's
for
also
sure.
expecting him to come back. She's just
Correct.
waiting for him to return. Like he took on Dutch Schultz, and that went badly.
Apparently.
So that was the end of
Dutch
Charleston
had a
Blue.
plan.
Yeah, but he gave her these straight razors to it's like, okay, you keep these for when I return, and I'll use them. And they're like, can we see these straight razors? And she's like, yeah, sure. Here's the fancy case they're in, and she opens it up, and they're all gone. And they just look at each other like, oh, here we go.
Yeah, and then
That's when they go and try to
was-
exhume the body.
yeah, I mean, there's a long series of events, and you were saying like a lot is happening, but then a lot isn't happening, because it's one of those where it seems like just random ass hijinks are happening, and then we kind of later find out what it actually was happening.
Yeah.
Because there's just a series of wacky explosions, like just all kinds of crazy shit. Like somebody will be driving down the road and they will yoink him out of a delivery van, throw him in the back of a garbage truck and crush him. Then another dude is like driving a horse and buggy around and has a random like football thrown at him, and that explodes. So like for the longest time we're just like, what the hell is going on? Like, but why are these like random ass seeming killings happening? And it turns out like it's somebody like hitting all the drug importing into Harlem, basically.
Yeah, there's a long sequence of it's dawn in Harlem, and it's raining / snowing, and everyone's opening their businesses, and everything's kind of terrible. There's the poultry processing, the live poultry murder house, basically, where they have a bunch of chickens, they kill them.
I think that's a slaughterhouse.
Yes.
Okay.
But that's not what it's literally like live poultry death house is what the sign says outside. I mean, it's not as fancy as a slaughterhouse. But that's where we find out that the reason that they stole the turkeys at the beginning was because they're just shoving drugs into these. That's how they're moving the.
They're putting them in like Gerber baby food, putting the drugs in like Gerber baby food jars,
Yeah.
and then cramming them up the turkey asses.
I don't think it wasn't. Well, they were putting them in little packets, stapling them first, and then putting them in baby jars. But yeah,
Right.
Yeah.
it was like it's a bizarre operation. But yeah, slowly but surely, it's like we learn that they're systematically targeting all of these drug processing places, specifically ones like owned by the Mafia and this other guy,
Right.
Casper.
Casper, yeah. I think Casper in the last movie?
I feel like he was, but I'm not sure.
I feel like he was, yeah.
Casper's the
the third guy that was on our list.
Yeah, no, Casper's
Oh.
the cop, the third cop, the sergeant.
No,
Isn't he?
Casper's the black drug guy with the barber shop and shit.
Okay, well then he is in the other one.
Yeah.
Oh no,
Am I wrong?
I don't know.
I swear they kept calling him Casper.
You're right.
Yeah.
You're right. No, yeah, you're right. That dude. Yes, he was in the first one also.
Yeah, because I felt like they had a familiarity with
Yeah,
him.
I fucked up.
Okay.
Whoever the sergeant is, I don't know.
He's
I'm
also
sorry.
amazing.
They just call him sergeant.
Yeah.
Yeah. There are a couple things that, like a couple silly things that I wanted to point out, like about these sequences. The first one was when they threw the football at the guy who was. So the football explosion, there was a guy that was
That's the horse and buggy dude.
a horse and buggy dude, like a horse-drawn cart, and this guy explodes with a live horse in the frame.
Yeah.
And the horse does fucking nothing, and the cart is on fire.
Yeah.
And
Oh yeah, I didn't mean to we were just going to skip over we're done with these scenes. I mean, because they're all crazy in and of their own right. I was just saying, I was just getting out of the way that there is what is seemingly random violence happening, and it takes us half an hour, 45 minutes before we realize what the purpose is, because it just seemed like, why is this random nun dude? Because we figured out it's a dude in the nun costume, and
It is.
he's just costumes
so
galore.
It's our second movie this month with
this is
the
our third, isn't it?
cross-dressing henchman.
Cross-dressing henchman, yes, but the third with a
The third
almost
with a
gay subplot going on that no one says anything about.
right.
I swear to God, I didn't plan this at all. It's really
Are you
weird.
sure?
Yeah, I mean, hey, again, this is the third time where there's a character that no one really is like. It's just strange.
Yeah.
It's very bizarre. Like, it's not bizarre to have, like a person of ambiguous sexuality and or gender in general, but in this era, and especially it's a touchy thing in the black community.
But no one calls it out.
No one says anything about
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Everybody's just like, okay, you're weird because you're a murdering maniac.
Well, and
You're not weird because of anything else.
because most of the time you're just casually wearing a nun's outfit, and there's never any reason for it.
Well, it became a habit.
God damn it.
What once were habits, now are vices.
Anyway,
Thank you, the Doobie
anyway.
Brothers.
Anyway, going back, so the turkey explosion thing, because they attacked the turkey place too.
She runs in and throws the cup that was for coins at the dudes packing the turkeys,
Right.
and that thing fucking explodes,
So-
and drugs are everywhere,
So-
and everyone dies of drugs.
So that one's crazy. Then like I said, it as far as the scenes go, it's they really just Keystone Cops up on this dude, yoink him out of a delivery truck, and then give him a horrible death by throwing him in the trash compactor of the back of a city trash truck.
He was just a driver.
yeah, that guy didn't do anything.
He didn't deserve that fate.
So I mean, it's horrific when you think about it, but it's it's played sort of sped up, we're murdering this guy.
Yeah.
But the horse-drawn carriage one probably is worth definite note because, as you said, giant explosion, guy goes flying off, the horse does not give a fuck.
Nope.
And then to top it off, I'm hesitant to call him a crossdresser because I feel like he's just doing it for anonymity.
The credit is for that character is drag queen.
Okay, all right, then
That is the
then I
character's name.
rescinded, I guess. It's just when he wasn't
but
trying to hide, he was just wearing normal clothes.
Yeah.
But in this one, he's wearing a Santa outfit.
He is wearing
Yes.
a Santa outfit
and he Tarzans into the scene.
and does a good ass old school Western onto the horse and then yeah, and rides away. Now I mean I know it's not him, it's a stunt guy, but still, just
Still.
a full on Tarzan yell from the top
Dressed
of a
as
building,
Santa.
dressed as Santa onto a horse. Impressive
With
stunt.
the cart
It's like
still
a,
burning.
Still
Yeah.
on fire.
yeah.
Right.
And the dude on the road,
Yeah.
his back's burning a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah, this horse.
It's a Wild West stunt show.
This is the most chill horse that's ever existed.
Well, before the explosion happened, I was like, "Oh, that horse is 2 gallops away from a glue factory." That,
did
that
see-
was, that
the
was
horse
the oldest goddamn horse I've ever
was
seen.
pulling to the right.
He's pulling right into the grave.
That horse was smelling burnt toast.
Right.
Well, it definitely was afterward.
Oh,
But yeah, so whatever. Those are those random things.
Yeah.
The main plot is all they have to go on is this knife. Now they the lady's like, "Oh, Charleston Blue's back," and and the razors are gone. So there's a fun scene where they go back to the captain and just kind of giving him shit, basically, because he's like, we're doing this by the book. You're not going to be the old coffin and gravedigger that you used to be. Like, this is a whole new Harlem. I'm in charge now. And they're like, oh, okay, so, who should we... What would you do, Chief? And he's like, well, like, just follow your leads. He's like, okay, so we have this razor and some missing turkeys. And then he's like, should we go and interrogate this guy? And he's like, no, leave him alone. He's a pillar of the community. And what about this guy? Oh, wait, he's dead. And they're like, well, I guess we'll go interview the turkeys then. And he's just like, get out of here. Go do your thing. Which
I think he's like, should we go... the chief or sergeant, whatever, tells him to, like... make an interview list and go interview all these people. And he's like, should we interview the head of the Mafia? Is that who we should go talk to? It's a really good scene of them just like browbeating the shit out of this guy.
Yeah, because
who had just said, you're not going to browbeat me like the other white captains
Right.
you've had in the past.
Yeah, and immediately they're like, well, you've got 2 years to your cushy retirement, and you didn't want to be here anyway, so you wouldn't want us to wreck that for you, would? And he's just like, oh, God, here we go. And from there, it's just like, we control the situation. They went to the mausoleum, and that's where the Pooh House guy is, and he's trying to prevent Her Majesty from getting in there, and they just show up and they're like, okay, let's crack this thing open and
it's empty.
check out Charleston Blue, and he's not in there.
Yeah.
And they're like,
there is a
"Ooh."
razor in the mausoleum, though,
Yeah.
so they're like, oh, here's another one.
Yes. They don't make a point to like tally them up or anything.
No, they're
like
not
when he gets
counting.
to 12, like that's it, he's done or anything like that.
But somewhere along the way, they go see Casper. They obviously met him at the fancy dress thing. Oh, because by the way, the beauty queen of Harlem is like his niece.
Yeah.
Yes.
He describes her as my sister's daughter. It's like, that you mean your niece?
You could
Like,
shorten that and just say niece.
we have words for these things.
Right.
But she also hates Gravedigger.
Oh, yeah.
Well, she also
And-
kind of
and
hates her
Coffin.
uncle too. Like it's not revealed right away. Like the first scene is just like, oh, really? Who let them in? You said something like,
Yeah.
I should be careful of who I keep company with, and I'm going to sit at a table with these cops. She doesn't say it that nice, but
She's really mad about it. Like
Yeah.
she
So she-
takes off her tiara and slams it down in the gravy.
Yes, into the mashed potatoes.
if it's going to be
Shortly
that kind
after
of party.
calling them Uncle Toms. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. But yeah, so they
Uncle
Yeah.
Tom.
they go. They basically go back to see him, and he's just like, I don't know, I want to say Cotton Blue. Charleston Blue is not back. Like he's been dead 40 years. It's like, trust me, I know we were good
Yeah.
friends, and
They bother him while he's getting a shave.
which they can't help but like there's one person. I say person because I have no idea who they are, what gender they are, because like first they go interrupt, like he's got a private room with a personal barber. I guess it would still be a person that shaves you, right? Like
Yeah.
and like
He's got like a
sexy
leather
lady.
recliner, like for his barber chair.
Yeah.
It's got a good setup.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But like, he's got his private room and he's just about to get a shave and they mess with that. And but as they're exiting the actual salon or barbershop or whatever it is, there's just a row of people, getting work done. And there is one person that is like entire head is foam. Like,
It's like after the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man exploded onto the Ghostbusters.
Right.
Like his whole head is nothing but foam, and it's
Get
just
him
like
a shave all over.
well, there's no face. I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah.
it's just a head of foam.
but yeah, Digger walks by and like scoops out a bit of the foam and then it's just like fucking with it for the rest of the scene. And then eventually just like other person at the end, he just like wipes it on their head and then wipes the rest on Casper's vest and leaves.
Yep.
It's little touches like that make these movies so goddamn fun because they're just like they're gonna not choose scenery, they're just gonna nibble on it. Like they just do little things to like.
They've got little bits of business in
Yeah.
every scene, and it's like, yeah, all right, you guys are like real. Like it makes them such real characters because they're not just standing waiting for someone to deliver a line of dialogue.
Like what's my next line? What's my
Yeah.
next, like? Yeah.
And it's not shot in a way like a TV show would be, where it's just reaction shots and just headshots back and forth. They're always like, there's maybe one scene where the two of them are not together, and that's kind of it. There's one scene that Gravedigger,
Yeah, where they split up and interview two
Yeah.
different leads at the same time.
yeah. But other than that, they are always in the scene together, always working whoever they're talking to,
Yeah.
making their sarcastic remarks.
Yeah.
But
There's
eventually-
one other scene towards the end where they're actually
Yeah.
split
Okay,
up.
okay.
But
Yeah,
but
in different disguises.
Oh, right.
Yeah. But they, I think eventually they lead back to what the hell? The guy's name's something like portrait or painting or painter. Painter.
Oh, Joe Painter.
Joe Painter.
Yeah, Joe Painter.
Which he's a photographer named Painter. But
The irony isn't lost on me.
but they eventually get around to him, and like he's not being very coy about it. He apparently there was a scene where the goofy dude from Coach, I never know his name, the big tall like Swedish dude.
Yeah.
Like that sergeant dude in there is just like still around, like, oh Gucci gosh, and like
Yeah.
he was trying to round up the Black Berets, which is like this movie's version of like the Black Panthers. It's like the supposedly militant black whatever party thing.
Yeah.
And so like he
Yes.
does this whole thing where he's like arrested like a 12-year-old who's like super articulate and like reading them basically like the rules of the Miranda rights and this and like why you can't stop and frisk and all this shit, and it's just
Knows
so
his stuff.
So they've established like, okay, there's this possible Black Beret thing, but when they go to see Joe Painter, it's like, oh yeah, he's the guy running this. Like it's very clear, like he's got this like studio / rec center thing that he's set up with like all these people, and it's like, yeah, it's clearly him. Like I don't know what the big secret is. Like earlier they were like, nobody knows who they are, who runs this. And it's like, it's him. Like,
Yeah, so Joe Photographer is, I mean, from like the get-go, like in the first scene you're like, who's this guy? But then when he comes back you're like, oh, okay, he's going to be a prominent guy. But then he's like, he's running this rec center and, helping the kids, but he's just at no time was I ever not convinced he was the bad guy.
right.
Like just at no time was I ever like, oh, I don't know if it's going to turn out to be him or not. I was just like, oh, it's him. That guy. It's going to be him.
Yeah, it's like no mystery.
And
there.
the movie-
because he like takes this throughout the movie, he just takes this ramp up of like he's kind of whatever in the beginning, but then he just becomes more and more of an asshole.
Yeah.
Like as the movie progresses.
It starts
Every
it's-
scene he's worse than he was
Yeah.
in the scene before.
Like the first scene is like it starts at confidence and ends at asshole, and it's like you're just watching this like diagram of the two. Like, oh wait, he's super calm. No, he's not. He's an asshole. Like
Yeah.
So
Yeah, and I mean, to the point where like by the time he has his meeting with the mafia boss, I'm like rooting for the mafia boss instead of him because I'm like, God, this guy's such a fucking dick.
Yeah. It's weird.
But yeah,
Yeah.
They that's the thing about this movie is it's a lot of like little scenes where they go to talk to somebody, get a little bit of information, move on to the next one, and then they'll like go back to the person later. So it's like, how did their story change, or why do they look more shady this time? It's like, so that's what I'm saying. Like trying to do a scene by scene recap would be kind of exhausting because it's just like we're over here now, we're over here, we're talking to these people,
Right.
But
So we should point out that at the very least that when the lurch guy tried to arrest the little kid for being a black beret or whatever, he's got some powder in his satchel or whatever, and Gravedigger goes to test it by lighting it on fire, and they're like, no, the drugs will ignite, and it's just
they're smoke bombs.
yeah, basically colored
Yeah.
smoke bombs, and by that I mean different colors. I don't mean anything by that, but like.
Yeah, they're specifically like
It's the colors of the movement
Right.
that are on the flag on the back of his jacket.
Right.
And that will come up later. It's not just a bit of business in the first part of the movie.
Yeah.
It's actually they did a decent job setting that up.
That's another thing about this movie is unlike some of the other ones we've watched, like last week's, every little incidental character generally comes back, except for like the Prince dude that they DJ Jazzy Jeffed out the club.
Right, yeah, no,
like, he's the only dude
he
who's like,
died.
yeah. Well, he did kind of land on his head in some garbage. So yeah, he was.
Yeah, they killed
if he
him.
didn't break his neck, then he was probably stabbed to death by all the hypodermic
Yeah.
needles. Because apparently in 1972 or whatever this is, like heroin. Jesus God, like that was the thing.
Yeah.
100% heroin.
Yeah,
But-
because there's a somewhat wacky heroin addict throughout the film, and
Yeah,
for the
good-
most part, this dude is comical, except late in the film when he shoots up and he gets his own little 3-minute montage to just wander the streets and be on heroin.
But it was accurate. He didn't fall down. Look, they
Yeah.
look like they're going to fall down constantly and never do.
Yep, it's true.
Yeah, but yeah, but yeah, he does a whole thing. Like actually, it's like right after they arrested the kid. Like he goes outside and he's like trying to steal a tire off the captain's car.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Okay, so so he's stealing a tire off the back of the captain's car, gets caught, kind of whips around, and the tire goes rolling down the street and crashes into two people who are standing at a street corner, a lady and a dude. And the lady falls over just like, oh, my God, help me. And the dude's just like, free tire, and picks up the tire and runs off. And she's like, you son of a bitch.
I swear that dude was at the fancy dress party.
He was.
Yes.
Yeah, because he had a very weird like hairstyle.
He was there
mustache.
with her, I believe. Yeah.
They ain't together no more.
Yeah, he's done with her now.
But yeah, look, basically the junkie dude was like wanted to be arrested because A, he couldn't find any heroin on the street; it was all gone, and B, he was like, I have $100 a day habit, I can't steal that much shit. He's like, so they're like, you want us to arrest you so you can break your habit? And he's like, yeah, arrest me. I'm still. He's like, and for whatever reason, they will not arrest him.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
They're like, get out of here.
Yeah.
But this also starts the whole like myth of Charleston blues coming. Like there are several citizens who wander up to them throughout the first part of the movie and are just like, Charleston blues, just cleaning up the streets.
There's no drugs on the street. He's rounding up all the drugs and dumping them in the Harlem River. And that's the myth that's going on.
Yeah, because there was one guy who tried to buy drugs off a guy who was hitting tin cans with a golf club, and that guy has a monkey. He has like
He had a monkey on his back.
Yes, he did.
Both literally and figuratively.
Yes. And it's weird because, like, until you get a close-up of that dude, you didn't know that he had a monkey. It just looked like he had a scarf bunched up on his shoulder. Yeah. But no.
Well, the monkey is
it was a
wearing
goddamn
an
monkey.
outfit that is very similar to his outfit.
Yes.
And what's weird is
very confusing.
The junkie with the monkey is like dressed more like a golf dude than the actual like pimp who's hitting golf.
He does look like a golf course pimp.
Yeah. I mean,
Chuck just loves the turn of phrase "junkie with a
junkie
monkey."
with a monkey.
he is.
I would watch that movie.
New from Ben and Jerry's.
Yeah. But yeah, like I said, there's all these little like interesting incidental scenes, unlike some of the other movies we watch, where it's like, well, that was completely useless and just wasted 3 minutes of film time.
Yeah.
Other than, like you said, there is that weird shot where it's just like, hey, he finally got some heroin and he went in the bathroom and shot up. So it's like, okay.
Yeah, I figured that was going to lead to him like walking out into traffic or something, getting killed, and then someone would be like, "Oh no."
Well, it will lead to. I don't want to hop to what it leads to.
Right.
But because it's
It
later
does.
in the film, but like
The character does drugs again,
Yeah.
but it's like that whole extended sequence of him wandering was just like,
yeah. But we very quickly, like after the first few bits of random mayhem, we learn, okay, yeah, here's our drag queen bomb guy who's like actually at Joe Painter's place. So it's like, oh yeah, okay, here's our confirmation that we already knew that he's the bad guy. And then we kind of figure out, like, yeah, he's rounding up all the drugs. At first,
And Joe Painter has been using the niece
Right, to get
as basically
information.
the in to know when the shipments are coming for the uncle.
yeah, because Casper is like, even though he's black and he's in Harlem and he's kind of running the drugs, he's getting the drugs and operating with the Mafia dude.
Yeah.
So it's like, there's this weird relationship where, like, he
Basically working for the Mafia.
for him, yeah, because like there's a point, like I think it's the first time or no, the second time they go see Joe Painter, like he's doing a fashion shoot with like 6 models.
he's doing an Austin Powers fashion shoot.
Yeah. and previously, like when they were walking out of the barber shop, we saw that he had like twin henchmen.
Yeah.
Twinchman.
Yeah. So it's like 2 dudes like super fancy, like dressed and like very unique hair and beard styles.
Yep.
So it was very like, oh yeah, they're twins and they dressed and have this funky hairstyle too. And then
And
like
funky hats.
yeah. And their plan was like, we're going to murder Joe Painter by shooting him through the skylight. And one of them, I don't know if he got shot or if he was just like, I'm going to jump down this 25 feet from a skylight and I'll be fine.
He jumped. I don't think he was falling.
Yeah.
Because he was still, I'm going to get this, but then he got lit up. But yeah.
Because Coffin and Gravedigger were there and basically like shot them dead. And then
Yes. They have quite the murder boner for anyone who comes at them in any way, shape, or
Oh, yeah.
form.
Yeah. Well,
They will unload
have
all
you-
of their
have
guns
you
into
heard
them.
their nicknames?
I have,
Yeah.
yes.
I mean, you don't
Well,
just get
I love that
nicknames
they
like
both
that.
immediately go John Woo, and they've got 2 guns
Oh, sure.
in each hand, just
Yeah.
cutting loose.
Yep. Yeah. So they murder those 2, and that's when they go to the florist, and that's where we meet the Italian mobster guy, and they're there to like.
Yeah, because Casper's there like, hey, I'm sorry I failed, and then like they walk in like, you really thought that was a good idea? Because like it's a weird thing because they're police detectives, but they're also like, we're aware of the crime. We only care about certain crime though.
Yeah, it's like we can't stop all of the crime,
Right.
but these certain they even have a speech about that. It's like, look, this, and this is gonna happen no matter what. It's when something goes outside of that, that's when we have to do something about it. Truer words have never been spoken.
Yeah. And then shortly thereafter, because the mafia dude basically threatens Casper's life, it happens because like he's a little bit later, he's back in his private, barber room, and his personal hottie barber is like, I'm going to leave for the day, and then like I think is it the little guy that comes in and murders him? Like they don't actually show it, but it's just like he's walking in, and it's like, oh yeah, he's about to get murdered.
Yep.
Yeah, and I believe that's the last time we see the little guy.
I think so.
No, the little guy pops up in the coffin during the shootout in the cemetery.
Oh, okay, that's right. That's right. Okay.
Also, we didn't mention that the 7 foot tall dude.
Oh, right, yeah.
Died like second scene. Like he
Yes.
just got
Yeah.
randomly gunned down.
He died while dunking a basketball.
Yes.
Which really, I
Is there any-
aspire to. If I'm going to go out, I would prefer to go out while dunking a basketball.
As a man nearly 6 inches shorter than you, I would also like to go out dunking a basketball.
Yeah.
I would like to take it one step further, not to bring back Chuck and his Ed Ames references, but I want to be doing a tomahawk dunk and then get hit with a tomahawk.
Okay.
A double hawk. Yeah. The old double hawk.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I would take-
I prefer the double pump while getting the double barrel.
I would take any kind of dunk. Any dunk. If I was able to just dunk one time and then die by any means, I'm fine.
Yeah.
Me, it would be my knees exploding as I landed.
Dare to dream, man.
I would want to dunk or die as soon as like the ball passed through the rim.
Yeah.
Just if I could just explode, that would be great.
So the air horn goes off. The
Yeah,
clock
my-
hits double
my
zero.
head just goes.
Hey, just think. That happened to somebody when Thanos snapped his fingers. Somebody was in mid-dunk,
Yep.
and they disintegrated.
It just
That
They were like, all right.
or even
Lucky
better, when LeBron just
motherfucker.
goes, poof, it becomes ashes.
Yep, there it is.
yeah. Luckiest
They're
man
like,
alive.
holy shit, these
Luckiest
NBA
man
special
dead, I
effects
guess.
have gotten amazing.
So we don't really know who killed that guy, do we?
It was the.
There was a
I
dead
believe it was the
dude.
Mafia.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But,
Okay.
I mean, I think in the final scheme of things, it was actually the little guy who killed him. Because it turns out, like, it wasn't the Mafia, like, murdering everybody anyway. It was Pater's dudes.
right.
So I think it's the little guy who killed his partner.
Because when the cops are there the next day, they push a gurney over basically, and there's a dead Italian dude on
Yeah.
it, and they're just like, well, and he had his throat cut with one of the straight razors on it. So
yeah. So maybe
I think that guy shot him.
Maybe the Mafia did murder the guy that was dunking, but then little guy killed him.
I
And
do
then,
I
like
think that's
that
what
they
happened.
not only did they kill the guy mid-dunk, but they took the time to put him back up there and
Yes.
put him through the hoop
Yes.
as well.
Yeah, he was up there like Jesus.
Yeah.
Man.
That I want to understand the logistics of that, because that had to be fucking difficult.
Yeah, you would have had to get a ladder or a
Right.
crane of some kind.
Well,
Or
especially if
another
it's
tall guy.
the little guy that's the only one left. He was like
Yeah.
maybe 5
Yeah.
foot tall.
Yeah.
Like that was a lot to hoist.
Hoist.
Yeah, there's a lot that goes unanswered.
There's some logistical problems.
Yeah.
But
I'm
anyway,
sick of these plot holes in Come Home
Yes.
Charleston
Yeah.
Blue.
Ding. There was no crane present in the scene. How would they get the body up there? Ding.
How would they get the body up there?
Yeah.
Ding.
Fucking cinema sense. Christ almighty.
Negative 600 jocks.
Yeah. Anyway.
but yeah. So Casper gets murdered sort of off camera. That's like kind of referenced later because it's just like, his niece is like, yeah, I heard he got murdered doing like riding shotgun for the Mafia, and he's like, yeah, I think that's what happened. I don't know. Yeah, because at some point she's just like, oh, you're the guy collecting all the drugs, right? Because she just kind of like figures out Painter's plan.
Well,
and
he's
confronts
gone
him.
from being like a normal dude to fucking just pimping out.
Right.
Oh yeah,
Like,
he's full pimp outfit.
He's like
I mean,
wearing like a blue mink coat.
he's wearing Charleston Blues outfit.
Yeah.
And it's just basically walking around like that everywhere. It's just like, okay, it's you.
Yeah.
It's him.
But she basically confronts him. And she's like, yeah, I'm doing this, and she's like, but you're just going to destroy the drugs, right? And he's like, yeah, they're going in the river. And okay, good. 'Cause I always hated my uncle for that.
I felt like that was way early in the movie that,
It
that they
was,
had that
yeah.
conversation, and then later at a meal, then she reconfronts him like, "Those drugs aren't going in the river, you asshole."
Well, yeah, he hadn't fully gone into pimp outfit yet. She confronted him after she caught the drag queen explosive guy in his store and was like, "Fuck's up with that dude?" And
Yeah.
and then she was just like, "You're you're doing this, right? You're collecting all the drugs.
Mm-hmm.
So
But he convinces her that
yeah,
we're throwing all the
he's
drugs
doing the
in
Charleston
river.
Blue routine of like, I'm going to clean up the streets
Yeah.
my own way.
And so she's like,
Okay.
she's kind of okay with it because it's like, okay, well, at least all the drugs are gone.
Yeah.
Yeah, until she doesn't. Like as we said later, it's like she basically is like, you're dressed like a pimp now, so you're selling the drugs, aren't you? And he's like, he basically is like, bitch, and then like grapefruits her to the face.
Yeah.
He's got
he
got
literally
two
has a
grapefruit
yeah.
halves and just palms one
Yeah.
into her face.
Yeah, he's just like, I'm the public enemy now.
Yep.
Bam. Great.
Exactly.
So,
Yeah.
You should be grapefruit for what you've
Yeah.
got.
at some point, what precipitated Gravedigger and Coffin getting kicked off the force, or at
What
least
happens?
busted
Well,
down?
Lots of
what
people
happens
die.
is
Shootout.
he-
Yeah, the shootout.
Yeah, he has the meeting with the Mafia, I believe.
Yeah, the sit down the table
Yeah.
dinner where
Yes.
he's just like, I'm taking over.
Yeah,
basically.
and that's what, like, and he's
The-
and he keeps bringing out like collard greens
Right.
and like watermelon and just all these things. And
Well, no,
and
that's before the last shipment because they're going to do
Right, because
Casper
there's-
and the Don are like, we got one last shipment, so we can get things back on track.
Yeah.
and it's going to be a big one, and that's when they show
That's
like
right.
the Titanic in the background or
Right.
whatever the fuck
yeah,
that boat
and that's
is.
the one where Coffin and Gravedigger are actually working with Painter because he's like, yeah, listen, because they're like, yeah, Charleston Blue and us we have the same goal here.
Yeah.
To stop the drugs, and that so they end up following the Mafia guys who, wow,
Oh, man.
like
They
so-
pick up a body basically. Like the cops are there, they raid the scene, and they're like, they check out they open the coffin and they check out the body, and they're like, okay, I guess there's no drugs here. Go about your business. So they load the body up in a hearse and drive off. And
for some reason, this group of 5 Italian Mafia guys decides to just put on blackface
yeah,
to drive around Harlem. I don't know if they think that it's gonna like fool people or something or what happens, but
I don't know. It's
it
really
never-
it's really poorly done, and
Yeah,
it's also
it's-
in poor taste.
yeah, it's a very odd scene because they keep going back to them like with bug eyes, like just acting weird in this car. Like it's
yeah.
one of those things where it's just like, okay, like we get it, they're racist assholes, but like what?
I think maybe
Like,
it
what
was
purpose would it serve them to be doing that in the actual scene itself?
if there were any eyewitnesses to it
They'd
from
say
a distance.
it was a bunch of dudes in blackface.
Yeah, I mean,
I think
that might work in the dumbest neighborhood somewhere not in Harlem, but yeah, I mean,
yeah.
yeah. If it was in a white neighborhood, they go, oh,
Yeah.
oh my
Yeah.
goodness.
I think the
But
idea
no.
is A, they're idiots, so they're not very good at makeup. B, they're a little bit racist. C,
little.
yeah, enough racist to be
Yeah.
in blackface.
Yeah.
So however much that is. And C, I think they are dumb enough to think that like if somebody sees us from a distance, they'll be like, oh, it's just a bunch of black folks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't worry about them.
So anyway, this leads to like kind of like a whole sequence of Coffin and Gravedigger trying to follow, and Painter being in a yellow Volkswagen.
yeah, they established that earlier because like he has a freight elevator that just always has a brand new yellow Volkswagen in it. Like it doesn't come out of the elevator; it just goes up and down with the elevator.
Yeah.
And so they saw this and were like, okay, and yeah, it's like a
It's a little bit of a shell game
Shell
because
game, yeah.
at one point that Painter in his Volkswagen drives straight while the hearse takes a left, and so Coffin Ed and Gravedigger follow the hearse, and another Volkswagen, another identical yellow Volkswagen, pulls in behind the hearse, and they're like, "Oh, what the fuck's going on here?" And they just kind of follow the
doesn't
hearse
really
around.
do anything because they're
Yeah.
just like we're on the hearse and we're sticking with that.
Well, the weird thing is that they lose the hearse. The hearse ends up getting diverted to the cemetery. The two cops lose them basically, but still end up there at the
Yeah.
end. So the hearse ends up in the cemetery. The dude from the poo house stops them like, hang on, funeral,
Yeah.
sit tight. So they're doing like a military style funeral for something, and there's a lady there freaking out and everything. But no, this was all a giant ruse because all the military dudes doing the 21 gun salute. Nope, actual guns.
Yeah,
And-
the first Mafia guy gets an arrow to the neck.
Yeah.
because there's
somebody with a
archery
bow and
woman.
arrow.
Yes, there's a
Yeah,
there's an
fucking-
archer lady.
Fucking Black Katniss up there just taking this dude out.
Yes. And several times throughout the rest of the scene, you see her loading back up, just like, okay, here we go.
But this
little
starts
dude,
a huge gunfight.
yeah, because like the grieving lady is actually the nun cross-dressing guy,
Yeah.
and he's freaking out, and then the little dude pops up out of the coffin,
with a fucking machine gun.
and he's shooting. So everyone's shooting at each other, and so they murder all the mafia dudes. They're all dead, and Coffin and Gravedigger are hiding behind a
It's at that point they pan over behind one of the graves,
Yeah.
and we see Coffin and Gravedigger being like, "Wow."
check out this shit.
And
And,
then all of them start shooting at
Yep.
Coffin Head and Gravedigger.
yes,
Yep. And then the dude from the poo house spots them and goes, "Hey, it's those cops!"
Yeah.
And starts and shoots at them. They immediately cap him in the chest,
yep,
and this leads to another gunfight where they are just like basically they kill everyone except for Painter, and someone else is gets away as well with him.
The ladies get away, which is really strange because Gravedigger shoots basically a napalm gun at them,
And lights them on fire.
which
Yeah.
like is a screen-filling explosion.
Yeah.
Whatever he shot at them fucking explodes in this graveyard.
Yeah.
And then you see the two of them on fire running off throughout the
Yeah.
graveyard.
So they
Well,
were
I wouldn't
spa-
fucking stick around.
They may have been scarred, but they were spared.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah. So,
But
Obviously, they
but-
figure out that Painter is stealing the drugs.
right.
Yes.
But yeah,
But yeah.
then it's like you're off the force. I mean,
Well,
not
no,
off-
this leads to them chasing the hearse.
Yes,
then.
there's a hearse
Getting
chase.
in another hearse
Right.
and chasing down that hearse.
Right.
And eventually, like, shooting its tires out, and it flips, bursts into flame, and they get there.
But they had gotten another hearse. They were still loading up obstacles to get
Yeah.
them distracted, and at one point they're chasing the wrong hearse. There's a
Yeah.
There's
there's
another
a dummy
there's
hearse.
Yet
basically.
another switcheroo.
Because when the coffin shoots out of the back of that after they wreck that car, that's where Casper.
Yeah, Casper's dead
That's where
body
you
is
see
in there.
Casper. Who's
And
thrown
the
to the
driver,
pit.
they notice that the driver's not
Yeah.
Painter, and they're like, they switched the damn hearses.
Yes.
And
But
then,
so
and then they
basically-
see that it's Casper, and then they both know, oh, we're fucked.
Right. So yeah, 20 people just died.
Yeah. But then the next scene is my favorite scene in the movie.
Absolutely.
Because it's the turn in your badge and your gun scene.
Oh my god, this is like a lethal weapon, or not lethal weapon, like a Naked Gun, or
It kind of is, but it's so
Hot Shots or something.
if you're
It is
really not paying
so
attention,
subtle.
Yeah.
The way they play it is
Yeah, it's not played
amazing.
like one of those. Like it's not
Yeah.
shot like or acted like one of those. It's
Yeah.
just something that would happen in that kind of situation.
because they're not off the force. They're just like you got it. You're not detectives anymore, and you don't have gun privileges.
Yes,
you're,
because
you're
you
traffic
killed 20
cops.
people.
yeah. You're basically getting lethal the first 10
Yes.
minutes of Lethal Weapon 3
Yes.
right now.
You're a patrolman.
Yeah.
But-
But he's like, all right, he's explaining all of it, and then the goofy white cop has to keep an eye on them, and the whole time that he's explaining everything that's going to happen to them, they're pulling out, they're like taking the gun, they put the badge down, they pull the gun out of the holster and put it down, and then they kind of reach into the belt, the waist, the waist, pull out a gun, and then
Breast pocket.
yeah, and then they reach in the other side and pull the whole. Like they're pulling out guns for like a solid 3 minutes.
Coffin Ed pulls like 3 guns out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right? He pulls one out, and then maybe like a minute and a half later, the chief or the sergeant kind of like is like, Ed. And he pulls another one out. Meanwhile, Digger is pulling a gun out of every space.
There's
There must
basically
be
a pile.
15
Yeah,
guns in front of
Yeah, like
in
reaches
front of
down by
Digger.
his ankle and pulls one,
Yeah.
out. And then like finally, like they're almost done, and the chief is just like, "All right,"
Come on.
and then he turns around, you hear a zip, and then you see him rustling around for a little while, and then he pulls out this weird holster that looks almost like a sock. And a smaller gun, and he just kind of looks at the chief, and then slowly sets that down on the table.
Yeah. It's so
It's
good.
it's so good because it's just they never overplay their hand with it until the very end with the whole zipper thing. But-
Especially because, like, when the scene is established, there are already guns on the desk.
Yep.
Yeah, the
Guns
badges are
and
there
badges
and,
are
and
on-
guns, yeah.
So there's just Coffin Ed is talking, and Gravedigger is just pulling guns out the entire time, and the camera doesn't zoom in. It's not.
Just plays
it's-
it
Yeah.
exactly how it should be. It's just
yeah,
deadpan.
it's a terrific scene.
But then it's a scene of like they're being crossing guards essentially. Not even like beat cops, because I mean beat cops would still probably have a gun.
Yes.
But like they're literally just crossing guards at this point, and of course, they're standing together, which is not something you would have with crossing guards. But
Yeah.
This only serves to like, I think it's Digger helps this little girl across the street with a doll, and then we find out like that's how they're moving them around. Is like these kids are like
One of the ways that they're
one of the
moving
ways
them.
they're like
Yeah.
this kid's basically like this is what leads into the junkie scene.
But Painter comes by and offers to. He's like, you can be on the take.
Yeah.
Like you don't have to take this shit.
Yeah.
You can work for me.
Yeah.
And they're like, no, get the fuck out of
Yeah.
here, you piece of shit.
But we see this. The thing is, it's like girl brings a doll full of heroin in. They restuff the doll with cash, and she leaves. They sell it to the junkie guy from earlier that was trying to get arrested. That leads him into him like going and shooting up, and then stumbling around but not falling.
I think this is just the establishment of heroin is back in Harlem
Right.
now. Like,
But they basically like they go to the phone and call in like a domestic disturbance type call.
oh, we didn't talk about the dinner scene. Did we talk about the
That
dinner
comes up
scene
after this.
Is it after this?
Yeah. The one with her.
Okay, you're right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
No, I mean
no.
the dinner scene with the mafia boss.
Yeah, we talked about it a little bit. Yeah, I guess we were talking about it earlier, but we were out of sequence. But yeah, after that all happens and they get demoted, yeah, that's when they have the scene where they meet with the mafia guy and he keeps bringing out the collard greens and
Collard greens and ribs and
yeah, and then
It's
eventually
basically
like
him telling
a big
the
watermelon.
yeah,
and-
he tells the mafia guy, "Look, we own this now.
yeah, we're
we
not
have,
negotiating. We have everything north
Yeah.
of 110th. You have everything south. And
We
take it or
stole
leave it.
a year's worth of your product, so we're good. And I sent my man to Southeast Asia to get the rest, and we've got a steady supply coming, so we don't need you.
Yeah,
yeah, you're
So,
out.
Yeah,
And this was his plan all along, was to
Yes.
not to like keep the white man from flooding Harlem with heroin. It's to make sure the white man isn't the one profiting off of flooding Harlem
Right.
with heroin.
black drugs for black citizens.
Right.
Is his motto basically.
yeah, because he'd been selling himself as like, oh well, we need to save ourselves from the white oppressors, and it's their fault that all these drugs are here, and
He is still running the youth center where they're all painting signs saying drugs are whack and all
Yeah.
so
he's
he's
saying
that's
no
called a
to
cover.
dope.
exactly.
And, yeah.
So he's got his cover.
But watching the whole like extended junkie sequence and the doll and all that leads to then they call in a domestic disturbance thing from a payphone,
Yes.
doing a stupid voice or whatever.
He does his Jamaican accent.
Yes.
Yeah.
Grave digger.
Yes.
Yeah. And then they're just like, all right, that should probably work. And it's right about that time the goofy, lanky sergeant guy who's supposed to watch over them comes up and is like, all right, your shift's over. And then he immediately gets the call to go investigate that. And he's like, all right, get in the car, come on. And they get to this place. And along the way, or I think before they even get in the car, he's like, that's an abandoned building, right? Like this has got to be like a flop house or something like that. There's no.
Well, he said it was one of their locations
Right.
at some point.
Yeah, he's like, oh, okay. And they get over there, and he's like, well, I can't go in there alone. And he does this whole thing where it's like he's scared to go in there, basically. And he's like, eventually they convince him to give them guns, and they're going to go in because partner system. And he's like, I'll watch the car.
Right.
And man, they like round the corner to go in the door, and this place just immediately ignites and explode like a huge explosion. And it's
Yeah.
like, oh, they're dead.
Yes.
Like, I mean, the way
For sure.
the way we're watching it, it's like there is no way to fake this. Like they walk into the
They
door
just
and then
walked in the door and
boom,
it blew up.
Yeah.
and-
Unless they walk in the door and just straight down into flame retardant, a pool of something. I don't know what their plan was, but it's the second they walk in.
yeah. So we're like, oh, well, they're dead. That's interesting.
That's
and
what's the rest of this
he's,
movie
he's,
going to be?
he picks up like their burned, traffic cop hat and
Yeah.
everything, and then it's like they're having a weird memorial service like at the police precinct.
Yes, because there wasn't enough of them.
Yeah.
There were no remains.
Yeah. But so like they're all wailing and the crying and everything, and like the little kid comes in and like says the smart kid from earlier comes in and says something, but then
He establishes the scholarship, the yearly scholarship
Right.
that the
The Jones and Johnson scholarship.
yes that the Black Berets are going to give
but
away
then
every year.
the sort of I don't know if you want to call it a payoff for the junkie sequence of him shooting up and then stumbling is like he comes in singing like a modified version of Swing Low, Sweet Chariot.
Yeah.
And just high off his ass and like sets the sergeant guy off crying even more by singing this, and then just like turns her, it like drops a nickel in the little collection thing and then like walks out.
That junkie is just fucking choice the whole
Yeah.
movie.
Yep.
I really like him.
But yeah, then we're basically done with him because then Painter comes in and is just like, what happened, like how they die, and
Yeah, and he's like, well, this isn't a fitting memorial. Here, take this $5,000, Chief, and have a fitting memorial for these two heroes. And he's just like,
yeah, we take our own, we can get out of here.
Yeah. And man, the sergeant is just distraught. Like, I feel bad, like, when we get to the end of this, there's no reunion scene between them because
It's like you guys are okay.
he is legit upset.
He blames himself for
Yes.
getting them killed.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, sort of.
Yeah.
I mean, it is his fault
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Yes.
that they pretend die.
Yeah, because I mean, it's like it's not very long before we're clued in that they're not dead at all.
yeah.
Well, they play it for a little while, like they're out of the movie.
Yeah.
But
Yes.
I did like that their pictures at the funeral were just like the most sarcastic headshots that if you that's the only way I can describe it is a sarcastic headshot.
Their attitude and demeanor the entire time during these films is conveyed in these pictures, which is just basically like,
Yes.
I can't believe we're fucking cops.
Yeah.
Look at this
And then
shit.
the picture's like, I can't believe we're fucking dead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, son of a bitch.
Like, look at just do a Google image search for Godfrey Cambridge, who plays Gravedigger, and look at about half of those pictures, and that's about what that
Yeah.
picture's like. It's like,
No.
Oh, while we're still assuming that they're dead,
Yep.
I think this is where, because like the niece, and I know she has a name. I feel bad that we keep recalling her that, but whatever.
Princess Harlem.
Yeah, Princess Harlem is like basically then like, oh, you're not dumping the drugs at all. Fuck you, I'm out of here.
Yeah, well, she says, "Oh, I heard how those cops got killed."
Yeah,
And he's
Yeah,
like,
this is what leads to the grapefruit in the face.
Right.
Yeah.
He leaves, goes down to the police precinct to do whatever he
Right.
does to them.
Yeah.
She's being kept there by the nun who has this monologue about how Vietnam made him realize who he was, and
kind of implies that he and Painter had a thing
that
in
was
Vietnam. Yeah,
that was the thing that I got from that too.
yeah.
So the niece is eventually like, "Fuck you, I'm out of here."
Oh, she grapefruits him in the face.
Right. Knocks him over and then takes off, which he then jumps down the elevator shaft to get to her. She runs out, jumps in one taxi, drives off, and then the nun runs out, jumps in another taxi, and drives off. So it's a taxi chase. But
Yeah.
not really.
Yeah, because very clearly, like immediately he starts talking, and it's like it's Digger in the nun guy's cab doing his Jamaican accent again, just like, I can't break the law, man, and all this stuff. Like, what down in
That's
the
a one-way street.
down
yeah.
in the islands, we do whatever we want, and we live longer. It's true. Look it up. and then like he's just like, can't you go faster? And he's like, yeah, I'm not going to break the law.
Yeah.
And then
It's so, man,
eventually
it's
he's
so
just like,
good.
eventually he's just like, all right, pull over, and basically he makes him lose the other cab, which is where Coffin Jones is, and he does like he had a fake mustache and everything on too, and it's like, why? Yeah,
Yeah, I know.
we can tell.
but yeah, he rips off the fake mustache, and then like he gets her like, it's gonna be okay. We're gonna get you out of here.
Yeah, we don't know exactly where their wires crossed because she had still been hating them most of the movie.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't think they were part of this. I think they were just like, I don't know. I don't know if they coordinated this with her ahead of time, or if it was just like, we'll be here when she wants to escape.
I don't know. The movie's really only weak link is how convenient this all was.
Sure.
Yeah, because there's not like a scene where it reveals their planning stage for this at all. Like, we never find out how this went down. It is just like, okay, they fake their own deaths, and now they put on fake makeup, and now they luckily ended up in this police chair, or in this chase with the two principal characters.
Then the end of the movie just like skips a lot of stuff because it's like, she's okay. They talk about like, we gotta like get, we gotta trap him in the briar patch, that kind of metaphor thing.
Right.
And that's like, okay, we're gonna enact the final plan, and then the final plan is just like, they follow Painter to the cemetery. Like there's the
Well, what
Oh no!
what happens
Sorry, did I skip the
is
part?
she gets angry or like there's just a brief scene of her going, "Oh, this will show him. This is where they keep all the drugs." Something like that. And the short version of it is it replaced all the drugs with the explosive smoke bomb stuff.
Gravedigger is pretending to be blind outside of a store, and the kid comes out and is like, "Hey, I know you. You're alive, and so is your partner probably." And he's like, "Yeah, well," and they conspire. And what they've done basically is they've secretly replaced all the drugs
With Folgers crystals?
yes, with the
he never has a second cup of heroin at home.
with the black beret colored smoke. So what happens is that so the junkie guy gets another dose and goes into the bathroom to shoot up, lights it, and colored smoke explodes out of it. And this is just a montage of everyone in Harlem lighting up their drugs.
There's a lot of drug use in Harlem.
Yes, because it is just
simultaneously.
Purses, cars, subway station, everything is just exploding in these colors.
And they all react like Chris Farley when they replaced his crystals.
Yes.
And they go fucking ballistic. And they're like, I'm coming for everybody.
You sold me this shit.
Because they're chasing the nun. They're chasing the bald dealer guy.
Yeah.
I mean, they're chasing everyone.
Yeah.
Yep.
Just it's
Yeah,
a
I'm
big
sorry.
it's fucking chaos.
It's a junkie riot.
yes, and then they
Golf
run
club guy.
Yeah.
They all run into the rec center where
Yeah, because the nun comes in and Joe Painter is in the middle of like selling this to the moms. He's like, oh yes, the kids, they have a place to go to hide from all the drugs that are on the street.
and there's a priest in here played by Philip Michael Thomas with the biggest afro I've ever seen. This was apparently his first movie. He's got to be a child in this.
Yeah.
But
It's not the biggest afro because one of the model ladies had.
Oh yeah.
on
Yeah.
him anyway.
Oh,
I
yeah,
mean,
okay, sure.
It's ridiculous. But yeah, so this just becomes. This stopped just short of becoming a pie fight. Like it's just fucking chaos. Like
Yeah,
people are getting thrown into ping pong tables, and the guy with the monkey runs in, and the monkey runs off.
Yeah,
and-
because the nun comes in and he's like, Joe, our stuff, it's blown up all over town. And he's like, what stuff? Who's this person? What is this nun doing here?
Yeah.
But then the other dealer comes in and he's like, Joe, they're all coming for us.
Right.
The stuff blew up. and this just leads to chaos. And then
Donnybrook.
it's like 4 minutes of
shenanigans.
Benny Hill shenanigans.
Yes, that's really it's gags. It's
Yeah.
just people getting thrown through things, getting hit with prop chairs.
Yeah.
Gags.
And it just keeps going. And it's kind of like, get to the stuff we care about, guys.
Yeah, because we have just found out that our heroes are still alive, and then
Yeah.
you take us out of that again to show us these shenanigans, and it's
Yeah.
like, come on.
So that's when they follow
Right.
Joe Painter to
To the cemetery.
Yes.
the cemetery where
Because
he's
all the actual drugs that he stole are
Yeah.
buried in the coffin
Yep.
Or they're
in
just like
Charleston
under,
Blues.
under the
Yeah.
liner or the top.
So he's checking that stash to make sure that that's not tainted.
Well-
The kid is also in there planting a bomb.
Yep.
And he hears him because it's like apparently it's a wind-up bomb.
He's just,
'Cause he's
he's
like,
just winding up.
I mean, I guess he was setting a timer, but it sounded like he was just winding up a toy.
Yeah.
You know, and he's like, "What is that?" And I was about to murder the kid with a razor blade, and that's when
They happen to just like,
yeah,
hey.
Coffin and Gravedigger come in and like, nope.
Yeah.
And the kid runs off, and then like they basically just start beating the shit out of him. They're like,
Yeah.
like really, you're gonna fuck with our own people? Like, you know, we expected the Mafia or whatever, but not you. And like, Coffin is about to murder him, and
Yeah.
Digger's like,
Gravedigger's
no.
like, you need to
He's
stop.
Like, you can't. Like, if a cop murders him, he'll become a martyr or a hero. And he's like,
Perfectly
all
valid
right.
point. I
He's
mean,
like,
it really
all right.
is.
He's like, all right, fine. You make a good point. And then
The kid runs up.
Well,
no.
what happens
Painter
is
just like stands up and starts to stumble out,
Yeah.
and then like he's just like, cause, at this point he is in full on like
Oh,
Charleston
right.
Blue outfit.
Yes.
Because we didn't even mention like there's a point where Her Majesty or whatever
Her Majesty.
has a picture that she's had refinished. Or reprinted or whatever
Yeah.
of Charleston Blue in front of his 1932 Lincoln.
That was another clue because she said Joe was the one who got it
Right, got it
redone for
redone.
her.
And
And
so,
they
like-
look at each other like,
Yeah. So like he's like basically has his exact outfit on at this point from
Yeah.
the picture. And then like she's just outside the she's about to go in the mausoleum, I guess. I don't know if she's part of this or not, but he's stumbling out and he's like, "It's me, I'm back, I'm Charleston Blue." And she's just like, "No, you're not." And just like
She's just like, you're just a 2-bit pusher.
yeah, and then whips out a razor blade and right on the
Slices his neck.
slices his
open.
neck right wide open.
Yep.
And then he stumbles back and lands like perfectly on her slab because like there was a second slab for
Yeah.
her when she died. And then I think somehow he like stumbles into the coffin. Like
yeah, he ends up on the coffin.
he hits her slab and then like rolls over and like lands in the coffin or something. And there's like, you see anything? Nope. Do you see anything? Nope. And then the kid's like, I don't want to be too much of a bother, but according to my watch, you have like 4.5 seconds to get out of here before that thing blows. And then, like they all kind of awkwardly run out of the mausoleum, dive on the ground.
The kid does a dive first where it's like he's going to dive behind a grave and doesn't get
He-
there.
he-
He dove too soon.
That kid read a lot of books. I mean, I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's like Major League when he goes for the slide
Yeah.
into second base.
on.
And he's like 5 feet short.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then it's just one of these like smoke bomb explosion things. So I don't know how much damage it would have actually done. If you've been in there, it probably wouldn't be pleasant, but probably not going to kill you.
Probably would not be pleasant.
Yeah. But yeah,
Hopefully it fucked up those drugs.
Yep.
Yeah, and then from there it's just like
suddenly the 1932 Lincoln pulls up,
and Her Majesty gets in the car, and it just like magically drives off, and you're like, was she dead? Was that a ghost? Was Charleston Blue
was
actually
Charleston Blue's
back?
ghost in there? What
Like-
was? Yeah. But yeah, basically, Coffinhead and Gravedigger just kind of look at each other.
Like,
Yeah, we're cops. Okay,
Another day on the job.
see you next time. Yeah, the movie just ends.
Yep.
Yeah.
As we get a song about Charleston Blue.
Yes. About please come back and then welcome back.
Yeah, that was a. That recap was all over the place, but
was
I mean,
a lot.
Yeah, it was a lot, and
The movie
That movie goes a lot of places.
you
It
can
does.
watch it out of order. Really, it's you know how it's going to end.
yeah.
There's-
All right, I think the first debate: does the titular song
Yes.
warrant a Stargrove?
Yes.
No, it's a title song. It doesn't talk about anything that Charleston Blue actually does.
Talks
It's just
about
like,
the car.
I'm Charleston Blue.
Talks about
You're
the car.
Charleston Blues. Come back, Charleston Blue. Come back, Charleston
I
Blue.
think I think I've got to be with BJ on this one. I don't think it's a Stargrove.
I don't feel like it's a Stargrove.
because I mean
It doesn't describe anything that happens in the movie.
Yeah,
I wish I could give it a Stargrove, but I don't think it is.
It's a good song.
And also,
I-
I don't think the soundtrack for this is particularly good.
it's not awesome, especially considering
It
it
does
was
some
produced
weird
by
things.
Quincy Jones.
Yeah.
supervised by Quincy Jones.
Supervised by
Yeah.
Quincy Jones.
Well,
Sorry.
okay.
It does a lot of like clarinet-y jazz music.
Yeah,
it's
it
kind of
suddenly-
weird.
It's
jumps
doing
in.
30s ragtime stuff a
Yeah.
lot,
Yeah.
but there is a lot of current era stuff. There was one point in that bar where I could have sworn Mr. Big Stuff was playing, and it was just like they never got to any kind of lyric. It was just a repeating.
Yeah.
Instrumental-
They play the Express
Express
Yourself,
Yourself
a
was
couple times.
definitely earlier, and I feel
Yeah.
like that was like a
They played it 3 times.
I feel like that was like some alternate version of, because I'm pretty sure that was that song, or
Right,
like
okay.
a prototype that the Mr. Big Stuff stole the hook from.
Okay.
I'm saying like I got that too, because I was like,
Okay.
that's almost that song, but it never quite goes into it.
Yeah.
So it could have been like an early version
Yeah,
of it.
and there's one little like the music when they're doing the whole Italian blackface scene is actually pretty good, funky stuff.
Oh, the
Like-
car
like-
chase is just.
Yeah, like what you would hope to hear.
Yeah.
But otherwise, like not.
It's
not
also
great.
insanely fast. Like whoever was playing that, God rest your fingers, because
Yep.
Jesus.
Yeah, but no, I mean, yeah, it doesn't qualify for a Stargrove because it is sort of recapping the story that was told, but nothing that actually happens in the movie.
All right, fair enough.
Yeah.
Okay.
if there was a movie called "Here Is Charleston Blue,"
Yeah,
Yeah, if Charleston
Wherein
Blue actually appeared.
Charleston Blue was the main character, and he was cleaning up Harlem in the 30s, then yes,
All right.
I would give it a Stargrove.
Yep.
fair enough. I guess
It's jam, though.
on to
Actual
actual
ratings.
ratings.
Yep.
I can go.
Okay.
I'm going to go 4 jocks on this one. I love those 2 characters. I love everything they're doing. I just wish there was a little more cohesion with the other stuff and that it didn't just kind of fall apart at the end into just that weird Donnybrook scene that goes on too long and the whole weird like junkie stumbling around like life is wonderful now that I have drugs scene, because that's kind of how it plays out.
Yeah.
But otherwise it was just like I love those 2 going around just being sarcastic to everybody. It's great. 4 jocks.
I will echo that. 4 jocks. I would watch Coffin Ed and Gravedigger fuck around on the weekend, or
Yeah.
Cotton. I'm sorry, I was thinking Cotton goes to Harlem, comes to Harlem. Or Coffin Ed and Gravedigger like are at the fair, or Coffin Ed and Gravedigger are trying to figure out who pays for lunch, or Coffin Ed and Gravedigger are arguing over who gets the last waffle.
Coffin Ed and Gravedigger go to watch 3 the hard way.
Yes.
I would like almost any Seinfeld plot, just replace them. I would watch that.
Yeah.
man.
We can't find the car in the parking garage.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
What's with the weird smell?
Coffin Ed and Gravedigger
the
are trying to
couch.
figure out what Coffin Ed's girlfriend's name is that sounds like a sex organ. Or Coffin
Oh,
Ed,
Trudy.
Coffin Ed and Gravedigger and the Rye Bread. They would just slap the shit out of the soup Nazi.
Yeah.
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 But
The close talker would be murdered.
Right.
Second they got
Gravedigger
right.
would put his hand in the close stalker's face and just push
Listen.
away. Your
Oh,
breath
man.
ain't good enough to be this close to me.
Now I want this show.
But like exactly, Coffin Head and Gravedigger doing anything. I don't know where it came from, but they are so confident in their characters and so in tune with each other that everything works. Their chemistry is just great. Everybody else is fighting for space in those scenes where they're on screen together. The only thing is it gets a little weird in parts, like the end, like the fight at the end. There are just a few things keeping it from being a Four Jocks movie. I don't necessarily mind the junkie scene because it's like 90 seconds maximum, and it kind of resets a little bit of a tone for what's going down in Harlem. And I don't think that's terrible. I think it's a little bit off tone, but
Yeah, it's just.
I
it's-
like that it resets a
Yeah.
little bit of what's going on in the world of Harlem for this movie. But it's just not quite there for Four Jocks, but it's real fucking good. I'm sad that there's not another, and that there's not more of just these two guys hanging out.
Yeah. I was the only one to give Cotton Comes to Harlem 5 jocks, mainly because I absolutely adore these two characters. I still absolutely adore these two characters. This movie's just not as good as that first one. The first one had some, I don't want to say like real world weight to it, but it seemed like it was more. It seemed like it was more outdoors in the city than this one is. A lot of this seems like it's
Yeah.
taking place on a soundstage, if that makes any sense.
Well, it feels like there's only a few locations
Yeah.
in this movie.
Yeah, and that one was a lot of like, okay, now we go to the pier and talk to this guy, and then the pier explodes, and then now we go, So I just think filmmaking-wise, it's just a little less, but I really adore this movie, and like everyone has said, I wish there had been more of these characters in something, anything. So, yeah, 4 jocks. I can definitely give it 4.
Yeah, you didn't state that before.
Sorry, yeah.
Yeah, all right.
Yeah, I can't give it 5.
What? Just out of curiosity, if you have the ratings pulled up, what did I give Cotton Comes to Harlem?
4.
4?
Yeah, you all gave it 4, and I gave it 5.
All right. I will reluctantly give this movie 4 jocks. I could almost. I'm saying because I can almost go 5, but I agree. Here's the weird thing. I actually think I like this one slightly better. I know. I feel like the other one is a more cohesive movie. I feel like this one is more of what I wanted, which was just sort of unhinged, them being crazy and random explosions and stuff. Like I feel like the first one is like a serious movie, and then this one is like getting into like Friday the 13th sequel. It's just like, all right, well, let's just make it a little bit crazier here and a little bit crazier here. But I kind of like that.
Yeah. And it feels like the prototype for buddy cop movies
Right.
that show up in the 80s.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I love this movie. I mean, it has problems, but like I'm so close to giving it a 5. I just don't think it's quite there. I mean, I think if it stuck the ending a little bit better, not that the ending's bad. Like, I mean, seeing that dude get his throat slit is pretty good.
damn
Pretty good.
satisfying.
And plus he got the shit beat out of him beforehand. So it's like that's all well and good. It's just like I obviously kind of forgot what even led us to that. I mean, it's like the Donnybrook and all that. I was like, what happened? Why did he just suddenly end up in the graveyard?
Right.
Even though it's nuts, it's just like it was like, all I remember was like, hey, we got to catch him, and then like him in the graveyard. Like all the rest of that was like just chaos.
Yeah.
I think if they had played that Donnybrook scene, or, well, not just the Donnybrook scene, but if they had played those scenes leading up to it, where like the junkies are just beating the shit out of the dealers, and then like they all march on Painter's house or something, or the rec center. If they'd played that more straight and like intense, I think that would have put it over for me.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, like that, there's some goofy stuff in this movie, but that is by far the goofiest and just the kind of against tone of this movie. And I think had they played it straight, that would have made it, that
Yeah.
would have been more impactful.
Keep in mind, though, this is the same movie that blew up a horse and carriage, and then Santa Claus Tarzaned into the scene and rode off on that thing.
Yeah.
That's true.
I'm aware. Yeah. Plus, there was the dunk shot. You know, I mean,
Yeah.
there's lots of goofiness in this.
Yes.
So,
And
like
if
I
you
said,
look at this movie poster is truth in advertising. Like, all of the cool-ass moments are on that poster. That is such a great poster.
Yeah.
If I could find that in good condition somewhere, I would put that on my wall.
yeah,
So
Well, that's magnificent.
I do want to note, Coffin Ed and Gravedigger did eventually show up in another movie.
Together?
Not played by them. It was in 1991, A Rage in Harlem.
Oh,
It was
right,
based
right.
on the other book,
Right.
but it was like George Wallace and Stack Pierce played them, and apparently that one had no jokey tone in it whatsoever
Well.
because Bill Duke kind of shut that down. So, yeah. So they do show up again, but it sounds like it's not what they want because they're billed way down the cast list as
Yeah, they're
well.
secondary characters in that.
Yeah, which is unfortunate.
I'll tell you, I've read about a quarter of Cotton Comes to Harlem. I think you guys remember last year. I got home and ordered the book.
Yep.
For one, that book is really difficult to read. Not that it's like hard subject matter per se, but it's written. I don't want to say phonetically because that's not entirely accurate, but it's written like all the slang language is written sort of as it's spoken. It's not played very straight, I guess. I'm trying to.
It's probably hard to pick up on the context of the slang without it actually being acted out.
Right, exactly. But it's a much more. It's definitely a serious toned book. Like it's like a hard crime novel sort of deal. It's not like a, like a cool blaxploitation joint. It's very much a serious book. So I assume that the book that Comeback Charleston Blue is based on is also serious, and they just took the actual tone of the book for A Rage in A Rage in Harlem?
Yeah.
A Rage in Harlem, and made it kind of true to the book.
Mm-hmm.
I want to get through it eventually, but it's just one of those things where it tires me out reading it because
Not
it's
a fun read.
yeah, the content is fun and interesting, and it's linguistically interesting. It's just hard to read because it takes a lot of processing what they're trying to say in that in that book. But
Yeah. Oh well.
yeah. Well, let's take a break, shall we?
okie dokie.
That's... So, I have one movie. I know Harlow has at least one.
Two, and very briefly want to mention a TV thing. Sort
Okay.
of.
Anybody else?
I don't have enough to really
Because I
talk
probably
about.
want to keep it short since it's already after 11.
Okay.
If you don't mind.
No, I'm ready to go right now. If you are.
Yeah, we don't have any emails because you guys read them last week. Good job. I didn't listen, but good job.
I did an okay job.
Email
I will
led
say-
to what he's going to talk about.
Night Comes for Us. Somebody had mentioned that to us earlier when it first came out, like in October. So I don't know if you guys mentioned that last week or not.
I didn't, because, I mean, we've read the email, but I didn't remember that it. I think the problem with that is it's a bad title. Like, it
Yeah.
just doesn't sound like.
It sounds like a horror movie.
Well, that or like it's, I don't know, like a super dramatic thing. Like, oh,
Yeah.
Yeah, it seems like one of those low-budget Michael Shannon movies where you're like, did I see that? I don't know.
the wind whispers to us.
Is that the one where the aliens are there? I don't remember. No, that's the one where he's a child molester.
Oh, no. I don't like that.
So I think it's just one of those things. Like, not either. I wasn't paying enough attention the first time, or it just didn't. It took twice. Because I think the same thing happened with Upgrade. Like a couple people would be like, "Dude, you need to watch Upgrade." It was like finally like, "Okay, I will watch Upgrade." Yeah, sometimes I'm thick,
Yep.
Yeah.
but not in the good way, double C way.
Sick.
The girl's name was Carol, which is why we didn't remember it because it's
The sister niece?
Carol. Yes.
Carol.
Let's do this.
She wanted to speak to the manager.
All right, and welcome back.
Hey!
Hey, BMFcast, second half.
Second half.
Have to.
So we didn't really discuss how new or whatever is your movie. Is it a new thing?
I saw Bird Box.
Oh, okay.
Finally.
Fairly new, yeah.
I figured the zeitgeist had just died, so that was the
That's-
best time for
that's
me
when
to
you wanna
watch
do it, yeah.
Bird Box.
You didn't want to be tempted into any challenges that were dumb or something like that?
Nah, that's pretty stupid.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's a really well-made movie, well acted, all that. The people I was not expecting to see in it showed up. All I knew is it had that lady that looked like MJ, and that was
Oh, you
about
mean
it.
my future ex-wife, Sandy
Yes.
Bullock?
Yes. So I kind of went into it blind, so to speak. Yeah. No, but
What?
that's one of those movies that, like, you know, the best horror movies have this underlying theme. Like, you know, you think about It Follows is like sexually transmitted diseases, and you know, Alien has the whole rape metaphor. Just there's all this. The best ones have a metaphor running through them, and this one has so many chances to have something happening that it's like, nah, we're not going to do any of that. We're just going to present this story as it is. We're going to tell a good story. It's going to, you know, we're going to tie things together. It's going to be well acted. It's going to be well shot. It's not going to have any deeper meaning whatsoever. It's just going to be an entertaining version of The Happening that doesn't suck. And that's about all it ends up being by the end of it, which is fine, I guess. But considering the whole thing that with the children that she has, and just, you know, there's so many places they could have gone with it that they just don't, and that's what's really disappointing about it.
Yeah.
So it's just going to be like, yeah, it'll be one of those movies that people are like, oh yeah, we saw that. Yeah, we saw that bird movie. Yeah, they never show the thing, do they? Yep. All right.
That sucks, just like Contact.
Yeah. But yeah, it's one of those where you could have something that people would be like, no, you got to check this out. You got to see this. But instead, it's a, you know, 2-week Netflix flash in the pan that people just aren't going to remember anymore.
Yeah, I don't. It doesn't do anything special.
Yeah, it's yeah.
I like Malkovich in it.
Yeah.
I feel like in
Like
the year where A Quiet Place didn't come out, that would have gotten more attention and maybe stuck a little better. But to me, it was like,
I feel like it got a lot of attention. Like,
sure, it did. I'm just saying, like,
Mostly
like he
memes.
said, it's a flash in the pan. It's like, you know, give it another month and people will start forgetting what it's about. Even you know, I just feel like, you've got possibly, in my opinion, a superior film in A Quiet Place. You have similar concepts, and it's like they're in the same year, and it's like, well, this one is like feels like a real movie. This I know wasn't connected, but it feels like a cash-in just because of the time it came out.
Yeah, it's an Armageddon Deep
Yeah.
Impact.
Right.
Well, and the
yeah.
book for it was actually written way before.
I know,
so,
I know.
you
That's
but
what I'm saying, yeah.
But people don't think that way.
Right. I just mean it feels like it had some things played against it, but whatever.
Yeah.
It served its purpose. It did well for Netflix.
Yeah.
Yeah, they said 800 million people watched it.
That's a lot of people.
Yep.
There's a lot of people.
Yeah. But also, like, Trevante Rhodes is in it, and he's good in everything. I need to watch more movies with him in them because I like him in every single one I've seen so far. Even The Predator, which is terrible, I like him in that movie. So
And that Battle Angel lady's in it too.
she is,
Rosa Salazar.
with normal size eyes.
Yeah.
Oh, good.
Anyway.
Yeah, that's just, it's a movie that has a chance to be a much better movie that for some reason they just chose not to. So, oh well.
Yep. Speaking of Netflix,
There
Yeah,
we
I was going
go.
to say.
I mean, two of the things I'm going to talk about are pretty much 100% Netflix, and one just happens to be on there. I guess I'll start with I watched The Night Comes for Us. If you listened to last week's show, it was apparently second time suggested to us via an email. This time it stuck. It made it through the cloud in my head, and I was like, yeah, I need to watch that. Like, this time I heard, like, it's from some of the people that made the raid, and I was like, well, that sounds like something I need to watch immediately, and so I did. And holy shit. Like, I have since, what, 2012? Is that when the raid came out? That feels so long ago.
Yeah, I think it was 2012. Might have been 2013.
yeah.
Either way, it's been a while.
It's been a long time. Like, I have been holding the raid as a gold standard for brutal, fucking violent ownage movie. Like, just like pure violence in a cathartic way of like dudes are going to get wrecked, possibly look like they're dying on camera. And this movie, in almost every conceivable way, outraids the raid.
Whoa.
Well,
Yeah. The only thing, I mean, I'm not necessarily saying it's a wholly better movie than The Raid. It over the top. It's like the weird thing about The Raid and The Raid 2. The Raid is like a claustrophobic, ass kicking in a building. You know, if you saw Dread and you didn't see The Raid, you saw the same movie. It's just The Raid is more violent. So there's something about that confinedness that makes The Raid very tense and thrilling and crazy, and easy to keep track of it. The thing about Raid 2 is it was like, yeah, fuck all that. What if we're outside and we just do crazy action pieces? You know, it's like less. I mean, there's still plenty of brutal hand-to-hand combat, but it's like then they're doing crazy car chase sequences and crazy camera movement things, and it's like it's all like the bigger, better, but not necessarily actually better thing going on with it. This is like pretty much the Raid formula. I mean, not that it's like stuck in one building, but it's like we are just doing incredibly brutal hand-to-hand sequences. It's fucking fantastic. And the crazy thing is like I could say that, and you know, a certain segment is like gore fans are going to be like, okay, I'll need to watch that, but like it's deeper than that. Like it's actually shot really well and really interestingly. Like they play with color schemes and things like that to set mood. Just all kinds of like things you wouldn't expect in a movie where it's like, let's stab people with every kind of object you can possibly think of in the most painful looking ways. And you wouldn't think like, oh, let's also like really focus on like the lighting and Wes Anderson style, you know, matching on either side, you know, like framing and things like that. And it's like, it's incredible. And it's a thing that Netflix didn't like go out and be like, make us a movie. I think it's like one of those things they acquired.
Right.
So, you know, so it's not a wholly original Netflix movie like most of their stuff. It's just like, hey, no one's picking that up. We'll take it. So the nice thing is like you can watch it in Super HD 4K if you have it. I mean, it looks amazing. The movie looks really, really good. And I cannot recommend it enough. And my only warning, and it's like barely a warning, is just like you need to have a strong stomach because this movie is bloody as fuck. And like there are people that endure things and survive that it's like 20% of the cast are fucking Terminators. You know, like some dudes will just get immediately dispatched and wrecked because they're just whatever guy, but it's like your main cast are like fucking Terminators. It's just like, Jesus, how are you not dead? Yeah, it's fantastic, and I cannot recommend it highly enough. So going down that road, I was talking with somebody at work about that movie, and they said, hey, have you seen this other movie, same director? Or this other one is co-directed by, I'm not even going to try to say the name. I know his first name is Timo. I'm not going to try to say his last name.
Okay.
But this one's called Headshot. And it came before The Night Comes For Us, and I was like, that's also on Netflix? Let me immediately go watch that, too. Headshot is also really good, also really violent. It's just not as polished. That Headshot is a co-directed movie, whereas they broke apart, I guess, and the one dude just went and made The Night Comes For Us. I feel like A, he learned some stuff, or B, there was maybe some stylistic choices that were coming from the other side that were wrong, because don't get me wrong, I think Headshot is also fantastic. And like I would say, your progression probably should be like, if you haven't seen The Raid, obviously see that, then watch Headshot, then top it off with The Night Comes For Us.
Right.
Because like you're going to see this like nice progression. Not that The Raid is made by any of the same people behind the scenes, it's just actor-wise the same people. But like there's a little bit too much shaky cam and wannabe James Wan kind of like, let's follow the camera in weird ways as somebody falls, and it's just not, it's not as polished as if they did that in The Night Comes For Us, it was much better done and hidden better. There's just some sort of amateurish filmmaking going on in Headshot at times, where it's a little distracting. But it's like, I get what you're trying to do, but you're taking me out of the moment. You know, like I just want to watch some dudes kick each other's ass. But it's arguably, you could arguably say that like the plot in Headshot is more streamlined and easier to follow to a degree, but like I still just think Night Comes For Us is superior in almost every way. So yeah, I would, if you've been like angry at the world and you want to watch some dudes just get wholly brutally wrecked and owned, there's two movies, and apparently There's another one that they made, the same directors, called Killers, I believe.
Yeah.
I don't think that one's on Netflix, but I'm going to seek that out. Then I think I'm basically doing like reverse filmography here because I'm going backwards through their filmography. So I expect that one maybe to be even more rough around the edges, but we'll see. I haven't gotten to that one yet. The very last thing I just wanted to quickly note. Again, I feel like I'm constantly shilling for Netflix, but it's just what I've been consuming things on lately.
All the good stuff is right now.
I watched the entirety of Russian Doll, which is easy to do. It's 8 episodes, about 30 minutes each, give or take. So it's a very bingeable show.
Yeah, I like that.
And yeah, I almost like some shows I feel like suffer from binge watching. I feel like this one is basically a 4-hour movie, and it works really, really well watching them run one right after another.
I think Netflix stuff a lot of the time is well sculpted for that.
Yeah, I feel like because I mean this is like usually is like cliffhanger-ish ending directly into like same scene in the next episode. So it's just if you could cut out the credits and like have some sort of cut that it just like watch the whole damn thing, I feel like it would work equally as well. Like I feel like having the pause between episodes is only so people will actually watch it and not go like a 4-hour movie, fuck that, because I mean people would they'll sit and watch 8 episodes in a row and think nothing of it, but it's like a movie's 4 hours, blah.
That's fuck that.
Yeah. But in a nutshell, because I don't want to give too much away about it. The most fascinating thing I think before I talk about anything to do with the plot is that it's produced and written by Natasha Lyonne and Amy Poehler, which I was like, that's a really weird pairing and fascinating. And then there's somebody else. There's another lady who's not as well known, from in front of the camera stuff. I didn't pull up her name, but
geez, sorry, lady.
yeah, I think she's just more of a writer director. It's like so I can't pop her name off the top of my head here.
Yeah.
But like it's just that weird sort of pairing. I was like, okay, this is going to be interesting, and let's see what happens here. It's Groundhog Day, possibly meets Happy Death Day, and then I don't know, like something where sliding doors almost. Like I mean, it's like it is like this whole weird thing where it's like reliving the same day, kind of thing, and trying to get things right. But it if that sounds generic, it very quickly sort of like about the point you go, is this just going to be fucking Groundhog Day, like over and over? Like, like what is going to make this different? And just about the time you start to think that, they throw a wrench in it all and be like, yeah, here's how it's different. Like it's so perfectly timed where you're just like, I feel like I've seen too many things like this. That's when it's like, just when you thought you had this figured out, we're throwing something else in the mix.
Psych.
Yeah, and I thought it was great. Like I mean, it's very good watch. I don't know what else. I don't want to say much more about it because it's a thing that could be very easily spoiled because there's so much twisty things that happen.
Okay.
But yeah, it's really good, and I feel like it's very interesting how Natasha Lyonne has kind of bounced back in her career because I mean she had a lot of troubles there for a while,
seemingly over there.
Yeah. But yeah, she's between this and like Orange Is the New Black. It's like she's kind of bounced back. Good, pretty well.
Did she have some drugs things?
She did.
She had some
drugs.
like nearly died drug things.
Yeah.
Like her heart almost exploded. I think at one point in time.
Like homeless on the beach doing drugs.
Yeah. Like they for tradition's sake, I think it was the very last American Pie movie. Like they basically
propped her up.
Yeah. Like seriously, it was like you've been in all of these, so we want you in this. But Jesus God.
Yeah.
Like you're late stage Lindsay Lohan right now. So.
Which,
yes,
it's a bad stage to be in.
I'm saying good for her because I mean it seems like she's fairly well bounced back. Now, I mean, granted, she's like in mid-30s and is like Richard Dreyfuss now, whereas she seems like a 50 or 60-year-old Jewish woman. But it's like I'm just saying like it has obviously taken a toll on her because like she is not the person she once was, like in Slums of Beverly Hills and things like that. But it's like it's interesting that it's like that she has managed to bounce back, other than like she's now Richard Dreyfuss herself. Into like hopefully she lives as long as Richard Dreyfuss and just stays that like 60-year-old age for 40 years.
It's so weird. She looks so much the same yet wildly different at the same time.
Yeah, well, it's mostly her mannerisms. Like seriously, she she acts like a 50-year-old Jewish woman. Like it's so like just raspy voice and like mannerisms. Like wow.
Have you watched Orange Is the New Black?
Yeah, she's probably doing the same thing. I haven't seen a lot of it, but I have seen some of it.
That also, I mean, she's got a lot of junkie experience, so you know, I guess she's a good fit for a junkie in Orange Is the New Black.
Yeah, but no, it's a super interesting show, and I always love. I mean, granted, look at who made the show. I like movies that feel like, yep, that's actual New York. I mean, like it's one of those things where it's like this is so spot on, it's scary. Like the weird dynamic of like I know everyone in this block and everyone in this block knows each other, and then when a stranger comes, it's like fuck you, just like everybody knows everybody. The homeless guy across the street, the bodega owner, like everybody knows everybody's business, and then random Wall Street asshole comes in, they're like fuck you, get out of here. It's just like it's so New York, but
cool.
It's good. And like I said, it's presented as season 1. I mean, this isn't. I don't think this is a spoiler, but like it's a thing that wraps up. It could keep going. Like you could do all kinds of things with the show, but it's sort of like as a Sopranos season 1 thing. Like this could be done, or season 2 could be like a whole different cast. It's it could do that. It's just, or it could be a self-contained thing. Who knows? That's 90% of Netflix things are a single season, so that's probably what they were betting on.
Yeah. But that Ashton Kutcher show has been on for 8 seasons.
Sure.
Of course.
Him and Sam Elliott being cowboys or whatever.
Yeah.
It probably costs like $14 per
yeah.
season to make. So
Yeah. But that's it. That's what I've watched.
Cool.
Watch The Night Comes for Us.
Okay.
I'll do that.
I watched The Office, the movie.
What?
Huh?
Office Space. Sorry. Office movie. I don't know why it even the movie poster popped up in my head and it said The Office on the movie poster. Office Space is still exactly how you remember it.
I've watched it within the last month, and
It's weird how fucking precisely accurate to your memory that movie is.
I watched it about a year ago. It's sad how so few things have changed.
Yeah, that's the weird thing is it's like all you'd have to do is throw cell phones into that movie.
kind of. Yeah.
Well, there are cell phones in that movie, I think.
Well, like just persistent cell phones.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like
You
they wouldn't be looking up money laundering in a dictionary. They'd be
right.
Googling.
They'd be on their phone Googling it. Yeah.
Hey, Twitter, what's money
Yeah.
laundering?
They'd be doing it with clicker apps.
Right. Yeah,
Yes,
Exactly. There would be like 5 things that would change in that movie. Everything else would be exactly the same.
Including Jennifer Aniston.
Yeah, because
It looks exactly the same now.
Yeah.
Dietrich Bader doesn't look that much different
Sure.
either. Yeah.
Ron Livingston, for that matter.
Yeah.
Basically looks the same, too.
Yeah.
Michael Bolton probably looks the same. Whatever
Yeah.
his actual actor's name is.
Not important.
Yeah, that's one of those that, like, I still feel like once it gets out of the wish fulfillment phase of just being like, yeah, fuck work. I might show up, whatever. Like once it gets out of that and starts getting into an actual plot, that's when it's kind of like, maybe I should just stop it and watch the first half again.
Yeah, parts of it like have never been great.
The resolution is real bad. Like the goofy contrivances that happen to make everything be okay at the end of that are kind of just like.
Yeah, but you don't care. You like
No, I know, but
all,
it
all
also
the good
just
stuff
seems like
has already happened. You
yeah,
just wrap it the fuck up.
That's what it
Like,
seems like. It just seems like this movie's over. We just have to
Yeah.
explain what happened here.
Right.
That's the thing with Mike Judge movies is that they're kind of real strong for 80% of it, and then some of it's just like, I don't know.
Well, it's like they have all the ideas.
Yeah.
And they're just like, the plot, I don't know.
Yep.
Like that's the thing. Like I when I write, I can write dialogue like crazy, but I can't string any of it together to actually form a plot that does anything good.
Yeah, just
but I
people
can
talking.
have everyone spitting a billion one-liners
Yeah.
throughout everything, but none
Somebody
of it.
write me a plot
Yeah.
and I'll dialogue
Yeah,
around it.
like
yeah.
I need to be a script doctor. They need to hand me this and be like, "This is fucking boring, but the plot sounds cool."
Hey Mackie, punch up the dialogue.
Yeah, and guess what? I'd be in there fucking throwing haymakers at it.
Well, I'm calling you for the next 48-hour
Do
thing,
it.
and then we can both yell at people about not using
Not
the
delivering the
dialogue that
lines
we, yeah.
properly. Yeah. It would probably be the year that another year where they'd be like, only silent films. I'd be like, fuck all y'all.
We did a silent film last year.
I know.
Because fuck them.
Yeah. But anyway, that's like what his movies feel like. Is it's like, I've got all these ideas for these scenes that all involve this thing, but then they don't know like how to. It's like, I guess we have to have a first act, a second act, and a third act, maybe. Maybe we should
They didn't
resolve
really
this.
need a third act in Office
Because like
Space.
Idiocracy, I couldn't even tell you how Idiocracy ends. I don't even remember what fucking happens by the end of that movie.
The smartest man becomes the president, and they give the plants water. Is that what happened?
He gave it water, and they were just about to murder him in the dome, and then the camera cut over to the plants growing, thanks to what's his nuts, Dak Shepard.
Yeah.
And then so they spared him, and they were like, "Yeah, now you're the president." And he was doing a Bill Clinton thing, like.
That movie is weird in terms of its structure. Like, that movie feels like a 4-hour movie that they just had a narrator come in and talk over a lot of scenes in that movie. Idiocracy is weird as far as production. I think it's fucking hilarious. I love it.
Well, I mean,
but-
it took like a year and a half to come out.
yeah.
Because I remember like reading, I want to say it was Entertainment Weekly's like summer movie preview for 2015 when it was called, not The Dawn of Man, it was The Twilight of Man,
Yeah.
I think was the original name.
Yeah.
And they had that like right after Star Wars Episode 3. And I was like, oh, well, Mike Judge, okay. Yeah, that sounds pretty cool.
You're giving it
and
another
then
shot,
it
huh?
never came out.
Yeah.
Like, it didn't come out until like a year and a half later on fucking VHS or something in 2006. Because they're like, no, nobody should see this.
Yeah.
So weird.
Oh, it was also Fox, so that was in prime time. Oh, there's a sci-fi tinge to this. Fuck it. I mean, I'm kidding. Like, I'm not kidding. It's like that was Fox. Whoever there fucking hated sci-fi.
Yeah, if it wasn't the X-Files, it could fuck off. Actually, no, that was even...
That was pre that.
Yeah, that was
That
even
guy would have
after that.
canceled if the X-Files wasn't a fucking juggernaut by the time he
Yeah,
took over.
that's true. Yeah, it's weird, but... Yeah, Office Space is all right.
I'm glad it got out of the whole insufferable general public bullshit that surrounded that. But just like when
Where
the public
everybody-
latched onto
yeah.
it and was quoting it, it's just like a lot of movies don't survive that. Like Austin Powers doesn't survive that. I think Office Space has emerged out of that. Like idiots in your office have stopped doing that shit all the time.
Because they've moved on to like South Park or whatever,
Yeah.
or anything else.
And now you can go back and wrap
Well,
your
yeah,
arms around
now
Office Space and go, it's
everyone,
mine again.
Everyone just does lines from The Office now.
Yes.
Yeah,
Like-
The Office took over
yeah.
for
Thank
for
you,
Office Space.
Office.
But nobody does British Office.
No.
No, that's because it's the inferior.
Nobody's like, there's been a rape upstairs. You know, nobody does any of that stuff.
Yeah, it's a shame.
First man to wake up at the crack of dawn. That was the first line that sold me on British Office when he's introducing everyone.
But also, there were only 6 episodes over the course of 5 years, so
Yeah.
no one remembers.
No.
I tried to get into British The Office a few years ago. Like, man, for one, what's his name?
Like, people who act like the cringe factor in the American Office is
Yeah.
bad, like, have never seen the British
No,
Office.
Ricky
'Cause David-
Gervais is
David
just-
Brent is just...
Super cringe.
God, the worst.
I still haven't watched the David Brent music thing.
I haven't either.
Oh, right.
I'm kind of scared too because
I
I
keep
feel like
forgetting.
Well, I feel like the Christmas special just put such a nice
Yeah,
bow on that.
it
and I was
really
like,
did.
I was like, no, we're done with that.
Like, where
forever.
it even made you be like, all right, he's in a better place. Like you know, there was something
Yeah,
about...
they murdered him.
Yeah.
No, they didn't.
No, they did not.
Yeah.
But I still, like...
I feel like if I'd done it backwards, I might have had that trouble too. But I watched the entirety of British Office before American Office started. So
I think I tried to watch it the first time before I'd watched The American Office, but it was still like it put me too far over in the cringe zone, and I just like, oh no, I can't watch
Yeah,
this
I
happen
probably
to people.
I probably wouldn't be able to watch it nowadays because I watched it, you know, like right after everything had wrapped up. I think like you know whatever it was, 2002, 2003, and like I could handle cringe comedy then, where it does nothing for me now.
Yeah.
Like it actively makes me just go like, no, I need to stop watching this. Like it gives me unpleasant anxiety feelings that I don't like.
if there's one thing I feel like Ricky Gervais did better than Steve Carell was the pause, look at the camera, and like finger guns. Like that was funny, right? Like he fucking nailed that so well. Just like
And he still has my favorite scene when they're talking about redundancies, and he just goes around the room and he goes, "You're not going to lose your job. You're not going to lose your job." Points at one guy and kind of pauses for a second, skips him, and then goes, "You're not going to lose your job," to the next person. so fucking good. But
Yeah.
anyway, we're off topic
We are.
somewhat.
It happens every once in a while.
Yeah.
You're welcome. Internet.
Thanks.
The internet likes it.
Yeah. So, if someone wanted to email us a topic for the second half,
Well, they could email bmf@bmfcast.com.
what if they wanted to call it in and say, "Hey, I was thinking about this topic. What's you guys' opinion?"
Well, sitting on the train, they would pick up their phone and dial 910-5-JOCKS-BMF or 910-556-9263.
Nice.
Mackie, if somebody wanted to donate an ungodly sum of money monthly to us, where would they go?
They would go to patreon.com/BMFcast.
If somebody wanted to donate a modest sum of money to us monthly, where would they go?
They would go to patreon.com/BMFcast.
Yeah, I would amend that first part. If they're going to do the ungodly sum, I will give them my address and not have Patreon take a giant cut out of it.
Well, I mean, Patreon's taken,
Sure.
like $120 million in VC, so they need all the help they can get.
Okay.
So do we.
Those poor people at Patreon.
Yeah. They need all that money to send you annoying emails every month about bullshit that you can never participate in.
Hey, this is Taryn from Patreon.
Yeah.
You can't participate in this.
Why don't you
Thanks.
fly out to Maui for PatreCon, And it's just like, I can't afford that shit.
Right.
I fucking hate that probably
Does
exists.
that actually exist?
There's a Patreon con.
Oh,
Yeah.
Oh, no.
It's called
Oh, that's a
PatreCon.
horrible thing.
We could afford to, drive to Fernandina
Yeah.
to sit in a hotel for 25 minutes.
For a seminar
Yeah.
for half an hour.
Yeah. Otherwise,
But
we're
you know what?
fucking busy and broke.
Yeah, but you know what the seminar is going to tell you? Be more popular.
Yeah.
Guess how you get more Patreon subscribers?
Be more popular.
Be more popular.
Right.
If you want us to be more popular, I would like you to spread the word of the BMFcast. You should proselytize about us. Tell your neighbors, tell your friends. It's actually one of the better ways that we
Yeah,
get
Is
those.
that
also
when a
tell all
doctor
your
sticks
Twitter
his fingers
followers.
up your butt?
No.
That's prostate-alitize.
Oh, okay. So just
Yeah.
clear, making sure.
Don't do that.
But yeah, tell your Twitter followers and shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Seriously though, word of mouth is one of the better ways that things like iTunes is never going to feature us. Facebook hates everything. Twitter is dying. So is everything else. But
So just tell a friend.
Yeah.
tell a friend.
Just pull them aside and be like, I really need to talk to you. It's
So-
not a bad thing.
Just like
Send
me,
a
hey,
You
raven.
just need to subscribe to the
Hey, let me-
BMFcast.
hey, let me see your phone real quick, and then just add
Send
us.
an owl
Yeah.
or a raven or any avian creature to tell your friends.
Just take their phone, add us to their podcast reader.
Right.
Oh, and as was mentioned in the chat by Bill,
Yeah.
if you want to support us along with good causes, go to our eBay page.
Yes. Just go to the bmfcast.com. The link
yeah,
is there.
the link is there
Yeah.
because it's
Doesn't even really support us, just other
yeah,
than
yeah.
clearing out shelf space.
Basically, yeah. What the movies we have DVDs and Blu-rays for, we put up for auction, and the proceeds. Who is the proceeds donated
The
to?
National Center
now,
for
right
Missing
now?
and Exploited Children.
Okay,
Yes.
so yes,
100%.
We make sure children go missing and are exploited.
Nope. That is
No.
not what we
opposite.
do.
It's
We are
the-
preventing it.
It is
Oh,
the
yeah.
opposite of
We
that.
are saving children.
Yep.
Oh, I've been celebrating World AIDS Day all wrong.
Anyway, literally all the profits go to good things, unlike Harlow, who is a bad thing. Thank you.
Harlow. He's a bad thing. BMFcast.com, Twitter.com/BMFcast, all those things.
Yep.
I
You
hope
know how
that
to
somebody listens to the end of these shows.
They
'cause
do.
We really put a lot of work into making them terrible.
And then Harlow wrecks it.
Did
Yes.
not. Yeah. Are we done? Is that it?
I was trying to think of a Brexit joke. I'm sorry.
Okay. All right, well, let's get out of here, shall we?
Okay.
Let's.
I'm Harlow.
I'm Mackie.
I'm BJ.
I'm Chuck.
And this is BMFcast out. See you next week.
Like, that's the worst thing we've ever said. Christ.
I never said that was the worst
entire-
thing you'd ever said.
Extra podcast about drinking titty milk.
He wants to go in there.
I just want to use my break room to take a break, all right?
Teaching legal.
God. I'm sad that that's like, I didn't realize that was only a Florida brand of milk. So it's like the joke's not going to carry too far.
Okay, it worked for me.
I did actually. I listened to that, and I had to start laughing again just listening to it. I didn't realize I talked about titty milk for that long.
It went on for a while.
Yeah, it's fine. Yeah, I just don't like our break room became titty milk room.
She in there milking that titty.
A lot. It's really often.
It's the lacration room.
Yeah.
God damn it. Where was that joke 3 weeks ago?
I don't know, man.
I don't know.
It makes so many titty milk and AIDS jokes and
It's not a break room anymore. It's a break fast room. Am I right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Cereal.
Ding.
Your phone ding?
I don't know. I heard one.
My phone has been forbidden from dinging.
Yeah, I got no ding. I got no
Fucking got no.
I got no
God
ding.
damn it.
All right, shutting it down.
Okay.
Bye, live stream people.